on Nationwide 90 FM.
It's hard-hitting. It's riveting. It's the much-talked-about cover story during Nationwide at 5. Here Cliff Hughes get to the heart of the story of the day. Cover story aired 5:30 weekdays during Nationwide at 5. Nationwide at 5. Talk radio at its best. Cover story.
Cover Story is brought to you by JTA Credit Union, serving our members, impacting lives positively.
Multilink, roll with control. Use Multilink, safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Stop putting off those plumbing projects. Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for plumbing supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, residents of Riverton Meadows and surrounding areas are appealing for relief from fires and smoke from the Riverton City dump.
We have to stay inside. We have to inside. We can't even go outside. When I would like to go outside because the smoke is unbearable.
And the fire chief says the current blaze at the dump should be extinguished completely by tomorrow.
NWC to implement water restrictions because of the drought.
Over the last 2 weeks, we would have fallen by about 12 to 15%. And so if this trend continues, we may need to also implement a schedule.
Murder accused, the PNP's Jolian Silvera remanded in custody until May 2.
CVM TV accused of violating terms of its broadcast license through EPL advertising.
In news from the rest of the world, ex-U.S. Marine arrested on sex crimes warrant in Trinidad and Tobago.
U.S. to end gun show loophole of unlicensed sales.
In headline sports, J3A's President coy on Nationwide's breaking news of multi-billion-dollar proposed sponsorship package by Adidas.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, the most recent fire at the Riverton City dump in Western St. Andrew is again raising concerns about the health risks of thousands of city dwellers. Do the frequent fires pose a threat to Jamaicans' right to a healthy environment? The public defender Caroline Reed Cameron and the CEO of the Jamaica Environment Trust, Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody, will join us.
From 6 to 8, multimedia company Zed Jamaica is celebrating its 21st anniversary. Join us for a special broadcast looking at the company's newest initiative, a robotic summer camp. You'll hear from the company's managing director Carlton Grant and others.
And at 8, it's Jamaican Dads with Dennis Brooks, Garth Williams, Marlon Campbell and Floyd Green. All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Thursday afternoon, it's Thursday, April 11, 2024.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Residents of Riverton Meadows and surrounding communities are appealing to the authorities to do more to end the health hazards caused by the repeated fires and smoke at the Riverton City dump. They say their health is being put at risk by the thick toxic smoke that blankets their communities whenever the dump goes up in flames. Nationwide News canvassed the views of residents living in Riverton, Corville Gardens, and Haney Park on Thursday. Ricardo Brooks has more in this report.
A strong stench assaults the nostrils the closer one gets to the entrance of the Riverton dump. It's a combination of disposed meat, decaying garbage, and open sewage flowing in sections of the community. Residents say the stench is a constant companion when living near the disposal site. It's the smoke they can't stand. Hazy skies greeted our news team when we visited the area. A teacher at Riverton Meadows Early Childhood Center says teachers and students are often at the mercy of the smoke.
I just had this burning, my nose was burning, my stomach felt upset, so I had to turn back because we were in a line of traffic, so you had to sit in the vehicle there and inhaling all of that. So when I look across, I said, no, my system's not going to be able to deal with this. But I spoke to a teacher that was here, and she said the smoke is terrible here, so I said, this is not good for the children.
Classes were suspended for the day. Men in the community were less inclined to speak to our news team, but we did observe them rummaging through disposed meat and car batteries for scrap metal. We're told both activities provide an income for the men. In neighboring Coreyville Gardens, one resident is praying she doesn't end up hospitalized because of the smoke.
Trust me, sometime at night when I'm sleeping, sometimes I have to get up and I go downstairs and I wonder if a fire in the house, so much smoke and those things in the house. I cannot breathe. My fear use pump every minute of the day. My daughter, she have to walk with her pump actually in her hand. They forget because of how the smoke is doing. And it really affecting us badly. And I don't know how I'm going to get over this. I'm just hoping and praying that I don't have to end up in the hospital like the last time.
In addition to the respiratory concerns, another resident says they're virtually forced to stay inside once the dump is on fire.
You can't put no clothes on the line. You see they come up with like a black thing. You wake up on the veranda, you see a black sump on the veranda. You understand? So we have to stay inside. We have to inside. We can't ever go outside more than we would like to go outside because the smoke is unbearable. It travels us over here in Corville.
In Duhaney Park, a resident told our news center the smoke has become overwhelming.
Yesterday morning when I wake up, the smoke was engulfed over here. It was very, very bad. I could hardly breathe. I had to be keeping wet stuff over my face to be able to get a little bit of clear oxygen. It's very, very bad. Yesterday and this morning was terrible. It's just so overwhelming. I am so tired of it.
As our news center departed Riverton, we observed 2 fire units near the dump. The smoke was still visible. The question of when the residents will be able to enjoy their constitutional right to a healthy and productive environment remains a smoldering question. Ricardo Brooks for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, a resident is denying suggestions that the fires were deliberately set by those who live near the dump. She says too many people rely on the disposal site for their livelihood to set it ablaze.
Well, you can't control the fire because sometimes it's not people lighting it. You can see that it's the whole combustion thing. So we can't say, no. People live on fire, so we can't even say move it neither because of my community. But more monitor it or put glasses on stuff at one side, different from where the trash and those things will go. I would guess maybe the lesson, I would think. Yeah.
Another resident who says she's lived in Riverton since 1967 agrees. She says even public transport operators are affected by the thick smoke.
The people them, the car man them, and the vehicle them feel it, for them can't see when they ground there.
The taxi man them?
Taxi man, bus man, driver, taxi man, anything. We go over. Smoke trouble them. Find them the pandemic.
How long do you say you live here?
I'm 67.
And about how much time you see the dump go up on fire?
Dad, at the dump there, I worries to himself. When the smoke start, me go play say, you know about that product. But then go through, the careful driver them go through.
A resident of Riverton City Meadows speaking with Nationwide News on Thursday.
Meanwhile, Commissioner of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Stuart Beckford, says efforts to extinguish the fire at the Riverton disposal site should be completed by Friday.
As at 4:30 this afternoon, an assessment carried out by the team on the ground would have indicated that significant progress was made through the course of the day. The smoke issue that has been significantly reduced. It is possible that we are going to be there and into the night, but we believe by now and say tomorrow we should be pulling out of the the landfill.
The fire started sometime after midday on Tuesday, resulting in a blanket of smoke covering sections of the corporate area. Efforts by firefighters and members of the Jamaica Defense Force to reduce the smoke have been hindered by strong winds. Mr. Beckford says the smoke hazard will take some time to completely dissipate, as there are some trouble spots in the blaze which are proving more difficult to put out.
There is still some amount of smoke emanating from the facility, which is not surprising given what is burning there. As I would have indicated in previous updates, there are some deep-seated burning taking place. It's going to take some time for those to be put out, to be extinguished. And we are working with the solid waste management crew. Additional resources was brought to bear on the situation, and that is why we would have made the kind of progress that we made today.
Stuart Beckford, the Commissioner of the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
The National Water Commission (NWC) says it will be implementing water restrictions across sections of the island as it moves to address the shortage of the commodity due to the ongoing drought. Acting Corporate Public Relations Manager at the Commission, Delano Williams, provided the update.
Overall, it means that we're going to be implementing some schedules for the areas worst affected.
We're not yet at the state of schedules for Kingston and St. Andrew.
Well, we're having to brush off the schedule now.
Ooh.
Because over the last 2 weeks, we would have fallen by about 12 to 15%. And so if this trend continues, we may need to also implement a schedule.
Mr. Williams was speaking on the Consumer Hour with Norgay Banton on Thursday. He says the drought has also impacted the rivers in St. Elizabeth, forcing more residents to rely on the NWC for water.
What we're seeing in St. Elizabeth, it's a dynamic. The NWC currently does not have any systems that are adversely affected. We have mainly wells. So the wells don't fall off as quickly or sometimes any at all versus the river sources. However, because the rivers are drying up in St. Elizabeth, because there is no rainfall, there are more persons now demanding the NWC supply as an alternative.
Right.
So we become stretched, and some of the persons who demand water are not doing so even legally. So it's something that we're trying to balance. We're trying to urge persons to communicate with us, help us to help you in terms of meeting this additional demand.
Delano Williams, Acting Corporate Public Relations Manager at the NWC.
To the courts now, murder accused and former Member of Parliament, the PNP's Jolian Silvera, will remain in custody until May 2. His bail application hearing was again postponed when the matter came up in the gun court in downtown Kingston on Thursday. Robian Williams was there.
This was Jolian Silvera's third court appearance since he was charged with his wife's murder on January 16 this year. Melissa Silvera was initially reported to have died from natural causes in November last year, but the matter was upgraded to a murder investigation after an autopsy revealed bullet fragments inside her body. Silvera was later charged with murder. He was also slapped with the charge of using a firearm to commit a felony. A shaved Silvera appeared in court, dressed in a white shirt, a jacket, and a black pants. Members of the media were not permitted to sit inside the courtroom as his matter was called up, as they remain barred from covering the proceedings in keeping with the Gun Court Act. Silvera is represented by King's Counsel Peter Champagny and Patrice Riley. Speaking with journalists after the hearing, KC Champagny says outstanding documents contributed to the postponement of the bail application.
An application was not made today. It has been deferred until the 2nd of May this year. The reasons for that I would not want to go into, but just to indicate that there are some additional documents that are outstanding that will be pertinent to the application. And so the matter is fixed for the 2nd of May when it will be heard in terms of an application for bail.
KC Champagny says those outstanding documents must be furnished to the court by Silvera's next appearance.
The documents that I made mention of earlier in terms of being integral to an application for bail, an order has been made for those documentation to be furnished before the date of the 2nd of May. As you appreciate, I am constrained. I can't speak beyond that. Mr. Riley and I cannot go into the details of it. The court from the initial appearance of Mr. Silvera in January made certain orders, and we have to abide by those orders as counsel.
When asked about his client's well-being, KC Champagny gave this update.
Under the circumstances, he is, as one would expect, very concerned, very apprehensive, very anxious. His position is consistent in terms of his honesty and his innocence, but under the circumstances, he appreciates the position and why it was adjourned until the next date.
Rolbean Williams for Nationwide News.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. More after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is...
It's 15 minutes after 5.
Rent-A-Kill Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rent-A-Kill Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rent-A-Kill is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay.
Continuing the news. Executive Director of the Broadcasting Commission, the BCJ, Cordell Green, says CVM TV has violated the terms of its license through its continued advertisements of Verticast C-Sport offerings. CVM was censured on Tuesday for advertising Verticast's offering of the English Football Premier League, which to date has not been delivered consistently to its subscribers. Speaking to Nationwide News on Thursday, Mr. Green says due to its close relationship with Verticast, CVM cannot plead innocence or ignorance in the matter. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
CVM TV was censured after investigation into complaints from disgruntled subscribers to Verticast C-Sport TV and the C-Sport app about their inability to see English Premier League matches. C-Sport has sole distributive rights in the region. In its censure, the BCJ says CVM facilitated misleading advertisements. Speaking with Nationwide News today, Mr. Green says CVM would have had clear knowledge of the state of affairs regarding its parent company's failure to meet its obligations.
It's a reprimand, but it goes beyond that. The station has been found to have violated the terms of license and the regulations which govern broadcasting in relation to advertising. The close relation of CVM and C-Sport, which is the primary source of a public complaint, led the Commission to conclude that CVM was more than an innocent party in this enterprise of offering the EPL to Jamaican subscribers. The way in which the logos of CVM TV and C-Sport were treated in the matter and their common ownership led to that reasonable conclusion.
Mr. Green also defended the lack of monetary or physical penalty.
I would not say so. It becomes a part of CVM's record, and notices of breach do matter in terms of a life. But I should very quickly say that we live in a free and democratic society, and the Broadcasting Commission has regulated with balance and dexterity over these many years. So there are other sanctions in the law, but those are left for the most egregious of circumstances. And this incident would not rise to the level where the Commission would go beyond the sanction that it has imposed.
Meanwhile, the BCJ was unable to take action in relation to Verticast C-Sport app. According to Mr. Green, the Commission does not have the authority to do so under law. He's asking the legislator to address the legislative gaps.
We now live in a society where content flows almost in an freely across devices and across platforms. This is now confronting regulators all over the world. Not a new issue. The internet is still a relatively new creature, but whatever concerns existed about the internet and even social media are now being exacerbated by generative artificial intelligence, for example, and calls for examination on how to treat with content in a technologically agnostic way.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
The Jamaica Urban Transit Company JUTC has resumed services on the Portmore to downtown Kingston route following this morning's withdrawal of service by some drivers after the stabbing of one of their colleagues by a passenger. Reports are that a male driver, while heading to downtown Kingston via Marcus Garvey Drive, denied the request of passengers to stop in a non-designated area. His decision resulted in a passenger wounding him in the left arm upon exiting the bus. The driver was taken to the hospital and the matter reported to the police. In a release on Thursday afternoon, Corporate Communications Manager at the JUTC, Kimberly Gardner, noted that the driver is in stable condition.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Limited, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
In Trinidad and Tobago, attorneys for a man arrested on a warrant for 128 sex crime offenses in the United States are moving to have the court compel the police to bring him before a judge. The man, who was arrested last week, remains in police custody without charge. In the legal action, his attorney says it's unlawful for him to remain in custody without charge since his arrest. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service was requested to produce the suspect before the court on Thursday or release him. The police were told that failure to respond would lead to legal action for the police to show cause why the suspect should not be released.
Further afield, the White House is to close a loophole that allows thousands of firearms to be sold at gun shows and on the internet without federal background checks. It will classify around 23,000 vendors and licensed firearms dealers making their gun sales subject to the checks. The closure of the gun show loophole will go into effect 30 days after it is published in the Federal Registry this week. The White House has cited the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act of 2022, which solidified who and what is considered a firearm dealer to expand the background check requirements. The law was passed with support from Republicans and Democrats after two high-profile mass shootings in May 2022. An attack on a supermarket in Buffalo, New York, and a school shooting in Texas. The Biden administration says it expects a court challenge by pro-gun groups, but is confident it will win. However, a spokesman for John Cornyn, a prominent Republican senator who worked on the Bipartisan Safe Communities Act, called the move unconstitutional. The National Rifle Association says it was preparing to fight the new regulations, which have also been rejected by Republican senators.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Limited, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, residents of Riverton Meadows and surrounding areas are appealing for relief from fires and smoke from the dump.
We have to stay inside. We have to inside. We can't ever go outside when I would like to go outside because the smoke is unbearable.
And the fire chief says the current blaze at the dump should be extinguished completely by tomorrow.
The NWC is to implement water restrictions amid ongoing drought.
Murder accused Jolian Silvera remanded in custody until May 2.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines.
At 6 tomorrow morning.
6 tomorrow morning.
Indeed.
News at 5 was brought to you by KFC Hot Wings. Available in hot and spicy barbecue. KFC Hot Wings, a wing for the win. KFC is finger licking good.
Call me shrewd. I am getting in when the markets are attractively priced.
Call me smart. I am getting set to capitalize when the markets have increased potential. Call me savvy. I have a mix of wise investments, so I'm earning no matter the season.
They're all investing in Sagicor Investments Sigma Global Funds, like our US dollar Sigma Global Equity and Sigma Real Growth. Never settle for less than your dreams. Start investing now in Sigma Global Funds. Call 888 Sagicor to speak with a Sagicor Investments Wealth Advisor. Conditions apply.
More savings, more choices. Get active with Active Home Center. The one-stop shop for everything for your home. We have more savings, more choices, unbelievable prices. Wide selection with the latest style. The kitchen, bathroom, right down to the tile. Buy the hottest items on spot, don't miss out. Best options under one roof, no doubt. More savings, more choices.
Visit us in store or online at www.activehomecenter.com.
We have more savings, more choices.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. We start with the news on cricket. The Jamaica Scorpions were struggling badly against champions, the Guyana Harpy Eagles, at sports time. On day 2 of their 6th-round regional 4-day encounter at Sabina Park, the Scorpions are on the verge of being asked to follow on. They reached 147 for 9, replying to 424. Captain Brandon King, 32, has so far made most runs for the Scorpions. Veerasamy Permaul has so far taken 4 wickets. Earlier, Kemal Savoy, 155. Gudakesh Moti, 56, and Tevin Imlak, 101, combined to take the champions to their massive total after they were 50 for 4 at one stage. O'Jay Shields took 4 wickets and Pete summoned 3 for the Scorpions. Over at Coolidge, the Windward Islands Volcanoes, they were 163 for 6, a lead of 167 against the West Indies Academy. Alec Athanaze made 89 and Kabim Hodge 41. Earlier, the West Indies Academy were bowled out for 158. Carlin Bowen Tuckett was unbeaten on 36. Kadeem Alain 35. Over at the Queen's Park Oval, the Leeward Islands Hurricanes, they reached 97 for 1 in reply to the Barbados Pride 542 for 9. And at that, of course, there is the combined campuses and colleges reach 109 for 5 after Trinidad and Tobago Red Force declared their first innings on 591 for 7 at the Sir Frank Warren Memorial Ground. Jason Mohammed made 157 while Amir Jangu made 218 for TNT. And last season's beaten finalists Mayday High School were 50 for 5, chasing 290 to beat Manchester High School at sports time on day 2 of the Issa Grace Headley Cup final at Manchester High. Manchester High took a 101-run first innings lead after bowling out Mayday for 118 this morning, thanks to Revon Morgan 5 for 17 and Matthew Morgan 2 for 43. Batting a second time, Manchester High were dismissed for 189 with Matthew Morgan getting 53 and Pajay Nelson 36 against Chris Lewis 3 for 19, Nashane Mead 3 for 76 and Mark Barr 2 for 12. J3's president, Garth Gale, says they are not interested in discussing a proposed mega billion-dollar sponsorship deal by sports goods manufacturers Adidas because they have a standing arrangement with Puma. Gale was responding to a nationwide sports exclusive yesterday where we revealed details of a proposal from Adidas to spend $5.7 billion Jamaican dollars on Jamaica's track and field at all levels for the next 8 years. In the document seen by Nationwide Sports, Adidas proposed to make $250,000 available every year for the next 8 years to refurbish or upgrade sports facilities around the country. In addition, under the proposed deal, Adidas intend to make available close to $3 million or 44 million Jamaican dollars a year in cash to the J3s for the next 8 years. $2,180,000 in equipment will be put aside per year, with $2 million of that in general products and $50,000 per year in products for the next generation of Jamaican athletes. There's also a 10% royalty bonus per year from sales of Adidas apparel. Also in the proposal, Adidas says it will put aside a retainer for the J3As of $2.5 million or 37 million Jamaican dollars per year for the next 8 years. However, Gale told Nationwide Sports today that it is unethical to facilitate any contract offer or proposal when the one they have in place is still alive.
It cannot be discussed at the level of the J3s because simply we are in a contract and we have to abide by all the principles that governs that contract. And I know you will all appreciate that, we have to be mindful and careful on how we operate.
The current deal with Puma expires in November this year. However, sources say Adidas decided to make public their proposal because it's alleged that the J3As has already renewed the arrangement with Puma.
If it has been renewed, that's all we want to find out.
Again, I will simply say we are in contract as we speak.
So you can't say whether it's renewed or not?
We are in contract as we speak.
That's J3's President Garth Gale. Women's sprint hurdles world record holder Toby Amusan and the 2022 World 100 meters men's champion Fred Curley will headline a host of stars down to compete at the Jamaica Athletics Invitational on May 11 at the National Stadium. The announcements were made at the launch of the event at the AC Marriott Hotel in Kingston this morning. Amusan of Nigeria will battle the likes of reigning world champion Daniel Williams, the Olympic bronze medalist Megan Tapper, and the 2019 world champion Nia Ali. Curley is due to face Trayvon Bromell, Zarnell Hughes and Marvin Bracey in the men's 100 meters. Reigning Olympic champion Hansel Parchment will match weights with Rashid Broadbell and Daniel Roberts in the 110 meters high hurdles. Newly minted world indoor 60 meters champion Julian Alfred will face the Americans Abby Steiner and Dina Asher-Smith of Great Britain in the women's 100 meters. National champion Jaden Hibbert and the world championship bronze medalist Donald Scott will square off in the men's triple jump. Shaniki Ricketts will highlight the women's event and Jaheel Hyde will headline the 400 meters hurdles. 14 international events will be on the cards, including 4 field events, the men and women's triple jump, the high jump, and the men's discus, where Frederick Dakers is confirmed. The Sport Development Foundation will contribute $10 million towards the staging of the meet. Costs to the event, $3,000 for finish line in the grandstand, $2,500 regular grandstand, and no cost will be attached to the entry to the bleachers. Athletes liaison for the meet, Marvin Anderson, told Nationwide Sports that the organizers are giving local fans an opportunity to see top-level competition.
We want to give the general public an opportunity to see international competition without have to go in their pockets. That's why we have opened the bleachers to the general public, to entice them to come out and see track and field, see what international track and field is about, see the atmosphere, see what it's all about in terms of the athletes with their preparation, how they compete at that level. Because we face it most, if not all of the time, with the exception when it's global championship, Jamaican people will just see these athletes on the television. And I think this is a fantastic opportunity for them.
The meet has been granted Intercontinental Tour Silver status by World Athletics, and Anderson says this is just the start of a bigger picture.
It speaks about the confidence World Athletics have in Jamaica, the Jamaica Athletics Association. And we're not new to putting on events at the highest level. But strategically, what the general public might not know is that we have created a strategic roadmap that this is not just going to be a silver level event. We tend to ensure that we bring the Diamond League to Jamaica. And we have created a roadmap to where we can matriculate as fast as possible to be able to be in contention to get a Diamond League stage in here in Jamaica.
Marvin Anderson, that's sports.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hyundai, the home of modern, premium, affordable vehicles. Call us at 876-630-1511. The time by Hyundai is
5:32.
Never before in our history has there been more roads built or under construction at the same time. The Maypen to Williamsfield Highway, the Montego Bay Perimeter Road, the South Coast Highway Improvement Project, and many more. We are built in Jamaica.
The temperature by the office of the Prime Minister is
31 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 29 in the western city, Montego Bay.
Welcome, Deluxe.
The cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery.
When you're good, you're just good.
Hey,
had the national flavor. You go off and buy this bag.
So good,
it's just so good.
Welcome Deluxe. The cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery.
National Baking Company, just so good.
Do you operate a business in the manufacturing or agro-processing industry? Sagicor Bank has a loan just for you. Sagicor Bank Manufacturing and Agro-Processing Loan. Borrow up to 50 million with up to 12 years to repay. Financing you can use to retool, expand, improve efficiencies, or gear up for export. Speak with a business banker today. Sagicor Bank Manufacturing and Agro-Processing Loan. Just another way Sagicor Bank is taking care of business. Conditions apply.
Nationwide 90 FM, the station for the very latest in news and current affairs, will broadcast information about Zed Jamaica's 21 years in business. On Thursday, April 11 from 6 to 8 p.m., tune in to Nationwide at 5 to hear about Zed's groundbreaking projects, which includes creating innovative videos, captivating animations, engagements with the Fax Assist Ren Web school management system, creating innovative e-learning videos, and more. That's a live broadcast of Zed Jamaica's 21 years in business during Nationwide at 5, Thursday, April 11 from 6 to 8 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Zed Jamaica.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for staying with us. And if you're just joining us, here on Nationwide at 5, it's time for the cover story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Good afternoon, Siobhan.
Good afternoon, Sir Brooks.
How are you?
I'm quite well.
And good afternoon to our listeners. Good afternoon to you if you're joining us on radio. Good afternoon if you're joining us on YouTube. And hello to you if you're joining us on the app. As we're coming on air, we understand we're keeping our eyes on Jamaica House, because we understand that the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, is in the process of shuffling the political executive, shuffling the cabinet. We're keeping our eyes on Jamaica House for you. And so soon as we have confirmation of whatever changes are made, we'll bring them to you. But in the cover story this afternoon, the Riverton City dump in Western St. Andrew was the site of yet another fire. It is the site of another fire. That fire started on Tuesday morning. It's the latest in a string of repeated fires spanning over 2 decades. Commissioner of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Stuart Beckford, says efforts to extinguish the most recent fire should be completed by Friday.
In the meantime, Nationwide News canvassed the views of residents living in some areas surrounding the dump on Thursday. A teacher at Riverton Meadows Early Childhood Center told our news team that teachers and students are often at the mercy of the smoke.
I just had this burning, my nose was burning, my stomach felt upset, so I had to turn back because we were in a line of traffic, so you had to sit in the vehicle there and inhaling all of that. So when I look across, I said, no, my system's not going to be able to deal with this. But I spoke to a teacher that was here, and she said the smoke is terrible here, so I said this is not good for the children.
Classes at the center were suspended for the day, and in the neighboring Corville Gardens, one resident is praying she doesn't end up hospitalized because of the smoke.
Trust me, sometime at night when I'm sleeping, sometimes I have to get up and I'll go downstairs and I wonder if a fire in the house, so much smoke and those things in the house. I cannot breathe. My fear use pump every minute of the day. My daughter, she have to walk with her pump actually in her hand. We forget because of how the smoke is doing. And it really affecting us badly. And I don't know how I'm going to get over this. I'm just hoping and praying that I don't have to end up in the hospital like the last time.
Pulmonologist Dr. Tanya Foster says smoke from the fire poses serious health risks for the population. Dr. Foster says the smoke hazard can result in irritation of the eyes and airways within minutes of exposure.
The underlying problem is that it will cause irritation and inflammation within the airway. Now, of course, those persons with underlying lung disease are going to be at increased risk because they already have an underlying situation where their airway or the lung is already diseased or prone or at risk for irritation by being exposed to the hazard. So they are more likely to experience worsening or to develop respiratory symptoms such as cough, shortness of breath, chest tightness, wheezing, increased mucus production, and the need to either use more of their medication or present to an emergency room for acute care.
That's Dr. Tanya Foster. She's a pulmonologist. She also notes that the smoke inhalation may lead to other health problems. Well, this afternoon we'll be turning our focus to the potential breaches of citizens' rights to a healthy environment because of the repeated fires. For that discussion, we're being joined by Public Defender, King's Counsel, Carolyn Reed Cameron, and CEO for the Jamaican Environment Trust, JET, Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody. Good afternoon, ladies.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. King's Counsel, let me start with you. For many Jamaicans who we spoke to in Riverton, they didn't actually know that there was such a constitutional right as one to a healthy environment. Speak to our listeners about the basis of that right.
Okay. In 2011, April 7, 2011, the government of Jamaica, or should I say the parliament, amended our Charter of Rights. And they thought it prudent at that time to include in those rights that are listed under the Charter the right to enjoy a healthy and productive environment free from the threat of injury or damage from environmental abuse and degradation of the ecological heritage. That being so, it more or less elevated our entitlement to a healthy environment to the level of a constitutional right. And as a result of that, the government of Jamaica, they have an obligation to the people of Jamaica by virtue of that right to ensure that it is upheld.
Mm-hmm. And your predecessor had intimated, and I believe did file court action in an attempt to vindicate that right. Can you give us an update on those matters?
What I am aware of is that there was, as is usual, it seems, an incident at the Riverton City Dome. And there were persons who actually came to this office to complain of what it had done to them. Mm-hmm. It was investigated, and at least, I think, about 15 or so persons, we assisted them with getting counsel and having claims filed. And my understanding is that, for the most part, those claims were settled by the state.
So they successfully sued the state for that right?
More or less.
And would the settling of that mean the state accepted liability?
It would seem so.
Yeah.
So, but that's an interesting point, Ms. Reed Cameron, because that doesn't seem to be public knowledge, and I don't think many Jamaicans are even aware that they have that level of recourse.
Well, certainly as it relates to that being an avenue that is open, it is not something that is new as it relates to this office and persons coming to us to complain. And in fact, the previous public defender, Mrs. Arlene Harrison Henry, had done a report on the March 2015 fire that took place at the Riverton City. And it has been posted on our website, and it's very instructive, very informative for those of us who would care to look at it, so that persons could become sensitized to the fact that this right exists and the fact that they could pursue whatever is due to them under that right.
And Dr. Therese Rodriguez Moody, isn't that something that JET would be interested in pursuing themselves, possibly as a class action lawsuit in terms of the repeated fires at the Riverton dump?
Yeah, this is something that we've been spending a lot of time on, even educating the general public. A lot of people, as you said, don't realize that they have a right to a healthy environment. But even when you just say that to them, they don't even understand what that means. And then when they think about their ability to access justice, there's a lot of factors that are, prohibiting that. So I believe prior to me joining JET, there was consideration of taking action. But again, you need adequate information, and this is something that we also see when we're seeking justice using the Constitution, that adequate information is needed to prove that there is, especially, and I would be more interested in looking at the long-term impacts, because these things happen repeatedly, year after year. We've had repeated promises, it's never going to happen again. 2015, 2018, never going to happen again. Every year, basically, it happens. You've heard about inadequate monitoring. I don't know if things have changed. No health impact studies. So these are things that also, when you want to look at long-term pattern of abuse and impacting people's health, this is, we need that information as well. But it is certainly an avenue that we try to go forward with. Of course, you need lawyers. We don't always have lawyers. Yeah.
All right, we're up on the break. After the break, Dr. Rodriguez Moody, I want to talk solutions, because while I was there today, one of the things I observed and heard from the residents is, look, they rely on this place for their livelihood, and the idea of moving it, they seem very hesitant to entertain that idea. And I want to know from JET's perspective whether you believe it should be moved.
Clearing personal, non-commercial shipments at the port? Avoid the wait. Request a contactless clearance through your agent today. It's more efficient. It's secure. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
15 minutes to 6.
We've been a part of everyday Jamaican life for over 25 years. From paydays to birthdays, unexpected emergencies to anniversary celebrations. The supermarket checkout line, or paying a bill or taxes on time. Our fast, secure debit network provides reliable service, so you can always depend on Multilink. Jamaican and proud, fast, secure, everywhere.
Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery.
When you're good, you're just good. Hey, Adidas flavor, you go want to buy this bag. So good. It's just so good.
Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery.
National Baking Company, just so good.
Do you operate a business in the manufacturing or agro-processing industry? Sagicor Bank has a loan just for you. Sagicor Bank Manufacturing and Agro-Processing Loan. Borrow up to 50 million with up to 12 years to repay. Financing you can use to retool, expand, improve efficiencies, or gear up for export. Speak with a business banker today. Sagicor Bank Manufacturing and Agro-Processing Loan. Just another way Sagicor Bank is taking care of business. Conditions apply.
Call me shrewd. I am getting in when the markets are attractively priced.
Call me smart. I am getting set to capitalize when the markets have increased potential. Call me savvy. I have a mix of wise investments, so I'm earning no matter the season.
They're all investing in Sagicor Investments Sigma Global Funds, like our US dollar Sigma Global Equity and Sigma Real Growth. Never settle for less than your dreams. Start investing now in Sigma Global Funds. Call 888-SAGICOR to speak with a Sagicor Investments Wealth Advisor. Conditions apply.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. You're tuned into the cover story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Our guest this afternoon is the Public Defender, King's Counsel, Caroline Reed Cameron. We're also being joined by CEO of the Jamaica Environment Trust, JET, Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody. And Dr. Moody, one of the things, because when I went there today, the stench, some of the practices I saw, I'm saying this, people shouldn't be living, in my humble estimation, around this facility. But when I said to the residents, why not advocate to have it moved? They seem reluctant to entertain that thought. Does JET have an opinion as to whether this site should be there, where it is?
Well, it's not really an opinion. It's the fact. The fact is, it has been stated multiple times that Riverton should not be. It needs to be closed. It was announced last year. The Prime Minister announced it last year that it will be closed. And, I know people were upset because some people depend on it for their livelihoods. And the fact that we have people depending on dump for their livelihoods is not something to be proud of. The fact is that the dump, it should not be there. You should not have housing or schools, other infrastructure in such close vicinity to any dump. It's just any landfill. And this is not a landfill, this is a dump. It's not operated as such. And so what we want is for the umpteen promises, a million promises that have been made over the years to actually be honored and actioned. The studies, I think it has been studied to death. We know that it has to move. We say that we're going to be talking about waste to energy, new transfer stations, new locations. What is the outcome of that? What is the problem? What is the real problem that is causing us to stay or to keep it as is and to keep having the same problem reoccur every year?
And Casey Cameron, for the people who, from this recent fire now, they're complaining, they can't breathe, they're essentially hostages inside their homes, they have to be going to schools to pick up their children, schools are closing. What would you say to them this afternoon if they feel, as one lady told me, that it has now become unbearable for her to live in the area?
Well, our doors are open. We welcome them to come in and to lodge their complaints so that we can start to action those complaints and seek to see if it is we can find some resolution for them as individuals.
And Reed Cameron, I have to ask this because I think Mr. Brooks raised an interesting point. For those people who have developed a sort of symbiotic relationship with the dump, what is the legal remedy when that same symbiotic relationship is affecting their health? Is it that you have to force the government to remove the dump and compensate the people who would be relying on it for support? How do you navigate that?
That is a very difficult question to answer because the fact is that persons would have made a choice to be there where they are and to have that sort of interaction. But one thing is sure, the government does have a responsibility to the people. If it is that this dump is an environmental hazard, then surely it is one situation that could be remedied by it being removed from where it currently is. And that's the first step. I don't know if I can give you an answer in absolute terms as to the circumstance where persons choose to insert themselves into that situation.
Yeah. And for those public defender who do not know where your offices are or how to reach out to the office, how do they do that?
We are located at 22 to 24 Duke Street. We also are reachable by phone. What the fact is, once you get to 22 to 24 Duke Street, we are open to you.
Okay. And Dr. Rodriguez Moody, there is a governance issue here as well, because I recall, and Siobhan, you can remind me with more specificity, that the Member of Parliament Anthony Hilton did express some reservations
He
about
did.
closing it for the same argument
Yes,
about
regarding the livelihoods of
Right.
those.
And so there's a governance issue here because obviously there's a political question. There are votes there in and around that dump. Yes, and so the politicians are quibbling about whether it should be moved. How do we approach that kind of question?
As we just heard, it's a complex issue. Because even when you decide to move it, how many people are going to want to move to live around? It won't magically disappear. Mm-hmm. It's not about moving, right? It's about creating a new location that will accept waste, and people won't want to necessarily live beside it. So you have that challenge as well. I think that the issue of waste pickers, that's what they're called, Jamaica is not unique in this.
Let me hear the term again. Waste
pickers.
Waste pickers. Okay.
Yeah. We're not. I think locally we have a term which I don't like is scavengers, and it's called everywhere else. It's known as waste pickers, and they exist. But I don't think we have. Even if we're going to condone that kind of activity, in terms of livelihood, are there any kind of regulations surrounding it? Mm-hmm. I know for sure they don't allow children on the dump. Let me say I don't know for sure. I have heard them say no children are allowed. So if a lady or a gentleman is going on site, they're not allowed to bring. But they're not equipped either with anything, PPE or anything like that, because they're doing it at their own risk. But if we're going to kind of, in a sense, allow them on site is kind of condoning it, then we need to consider how we're going to protect them also. So it is a challenging question.
So in other words, it's potentially you're saying that if it is that we decide that this is something as a society that we will permit, then perhaps regulate how.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have something that governs how it operates, so that you're also protecting those that are working.
Yeah.
Even because if you had a separation facility, a sorting facility, let's say you're going to be sorting, you have a waste separation, so some going for recycling, some going for this, some going for that. Mm-hmm. You would equip them properly, and you have certain things in place to ensure that they protect themselves. So it's kind of the same.
But Dr. Rodriguez Moody, certainly that is a consideration for a different arrangement rather than the one that exists currently at the Riverton dump, because I don't believe there's anyone now, whether in government or outside, who believes that dump is fit for purpose. So shouldn't the argument really come down to not if, but when are we closing the Riverton City dump?
I agree. This is why I'm saying we keep every time. I'm annoyed, just saying it. We keep talking about the same thing. We have these renewed promises. We have these renewed commitments of all the things that we're going to do, and then it doesn't get done. We have another fire. You hear the same set of promises. And I want people to understand, though, that when we're talking about smoke, and we use the word nuisance, we need to understand what's in that smoke. It's not just an annoyance. It's a serious health impact. We heard about the short-term impacts, the irritations to your lungs and, potentially your airways and so forth. But what about the long-term exposure for many of those people that live nearby, that work nearby, that have to be subjected to the repeated pollution, repeated, fires that take place there?
And to the best of your knowledge, have we ever studied that? Have we ever looked at the health profile?
There was a promise that that after the last one in 2015, it's not the last, but after the 2015 fire, there was going to be a health impact study. As far as I understand, and I am willing to be corrected, nothing has been done.
But then finally, Dr. Moody, because wouldn't JET be well placed as the advocacy group for environmental issues. Aren't you well placed now to essentially force the government's hand? Because as Caroline Reed Cameron has pointed out, this is a liability that has been proven in the courts already. So isn't it up to JET or JET in working with other organizations to essentially force the government into a position where the liability of keeping the dump where it is outweighs the potential politics involved?
Well, we shouldn't have to be relying on an NGO to have to do that. The government should do that without being forced or, any kind of advocacy efforts by a small NGO group. Our mission is broad. Our mandate is huge to protect Jamaica's natural resources. There is one issue after the next. We do need support. We can't just do it on our own. So yes, we may have to be looking at it with other organizations. But there's so many violations, environmental violations that are taking place, and there's so many actions that we need to take. And it should not all rest on an NGO's shoulder. It cannot just be our responsibility. Individuals need to take action as well. But yes, we recognize that we play an important role in advocating for the protection of our natural resources, protection of public health, and so and it is an awesome responsibility. And so it is something that we take seriously. So yes, it is something that we have to, seriously consider in actioning.
Which brings me to the final question. Do you know, Public Defender, under your enabling legislation, do you feel sufficiently empowered to protect and vindicate these rights, specifically environmental rights?
Well, what I will say is that based on what is there currently, we have been active in terms of treating with these environmental issues. And whenever these matters come to our attention, we certainly have not resigned from treating with them. If it means having to resolve these issues in court, then certainly we facilitate that happening, and we have been doing so over the years.
Yeah. All right. And again, for persons who may want to reach out, you're at what number, Duke Street again?
22 to 24, and I have some telephone numbers now, if you'll allow me.
Sure.
876, of course, 922-7089, 922-7090, 922-7109, and 922-8256. And if it is that they have internet facilities, they can communicate with us at inquiries@opd.gov.jm.
Caroline Reed Cameron is the country's public defender. King's Counsel, CEO of the Jamaica Environment Trust, JED, is Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody. Ladies, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
All right. That's the cover story.
We have up next the Zed Jamaica 21st anniversary.
Cover story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Say hello to peace of mind and goodbye to worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan, and secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness today. Call 888-367-5433 for details.
The time by Guardian Life is
6:01.
Super Center, everything for your home and more.
And we mean everything, not just houseware and appliances. At Zan Super Center, we have furniture too. Furniture for your living room, dining room, bedroom, kitchen, and more. Low on cash? At Zan Super Center, we have layaway plans. Don't delay. Come in today.
Zan Super Center, we're gonna make you smile. Zan Super Center, it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. Nationwide 90 FM, the station for the very latest in news and current affairs, will broadcast information about Zed Jamaica's 21 years in business. On Thursday, April 11 from 6 to 8 p.m., tune in to Nationwide at 5 to hear about Zed's groundbreaking projects, which includes creating innovative videos, captivating animations, engagements with the Fax Assist RenWeb school management system, creating innovative e-learning videos, and more. That's a live broadcast of Zed Jamaica's 21 years in business during Nationwide at 5, Thursday, April 11 from 6 to 8 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Zed Jamaica.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis, weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
The Oasis is brought to you by Solar Tech Jamaica. We use the gift of the sun to power our world.
4 minutes after 6, you're still tuned in to Nationwide at 5. We're turning our attention now to Zed Jamaica's 21st anniversary. Yes, Zed Jamaica is marking its 21st year in business in 2024 this year, and we'll be celebrating by hosting a broadcast on robotics right here on Nationwide at 5. Now, Zed Jamaica is a high-powered interactive creative agency specializing in web-based school information systems and integrating applications that allow schools the ability to increase performance at scale.
That's right. Over the past 21 years, Zed has delivered a wide range of groundbreaking projects, including a partnership with Canadian consultant under CITO and MITEC guidance in delivering the Jamaican Web Standard in 2006, innovative e-learning videos, and captivating animations. They've also created broadcast content for films, and the cutting-edge FACT SIS REN Web school management system. Zed is now looking forward towards the future of Web3, blockchain, AI, and robotics.
Now, Zed will be hosting a robotics summer camp this year. It's a pilot project in partnership with local schools and Canadian and local businesses. Zed says alongside its partners Zebra Robotics, Mars Business Solutions, and Island Fortune, they are committed to delivering an unparalleled experience to their stakeholders. To ensure the success of this endeavor, Zed has initiated a comprehensive marketing and awareness campaign beginning with this broadcast this evening.
Well, to discuss this further, we're being joined by the Managing Director of Zed Jamaica, Carlton Grant, here in studio, who's going to be talking to us more about Zed and their work. We're also being joined on Zoom by the Technical Director for Zed Jamaica, Paul Harris, and Marketing and Sales Manager for Zed Jamaica, Sean Forbes. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to Nationwide at 5. Is that Sean Forbes? No. So that's Paul Harris.
This is Paul, yes.
All right. So, Mr. Grant, let me start with you. So we gave our listeners an overview of what Zed has done. So walk us through now, in as succinctly a way as possible, the history, because 21 years is a long time, yeah? The history of Zed.
Yep, I'm getting old. We started off in 2003 at the Technology Innovation Center.
That's at UTEC.
Yes, under their incubation program. And we started off with the idea of video and film, the convergence of video and film itself, because during that time we never have scale in terms of internet connectivity and all of that. So we started off doing more on the multimedia side, but our goal was eventually going to be cloud or into the web, because we felt that that was the direction that that history would take us. We started off doing commercials, animation, different web application, websites. We got involved with CETO early 2005, I think, when we were having a discussion on the web standard in Jamaica, and we collaborated then with CETO and our Canadian partners to formulate the web standard and to bring that live to the ministries. So that was the first sort of a project that we went on from there on, and did some work with Environmental Foundation of Jamaica in terms of their animation videos that deals with the Duns River Fall, the preservation of the Duns River Fall. So we did a 1-hour video, animated video on that. And going forward, we got involved in e-learning video from there on. We did around 80% of the e-learning videos. That was there. We had to script them, write the whole program, did the whole animation, edit the whole thing. And we did it on a shoestring budget. Because at the time, I think, to tell you the truth, it was about $150,000 per video. That was not a lot. And then we moved from there with the second batch. So that was hard work that we had to put in. And in between that, we did a lot of viral ads and different commercials for VMBS and NCB and all those different companies, including Broadcast Corporation. We were the one who developed the ICAT for Broadcast Corporation.
Oh, nice.
So, from scratch. So we did that. And we moved away from that when website was become more of a cookie cutter. Right. And so you couldn't go out and develop a structural site anymore, because you can just spin that up. So we got into SIS at the time.
Mm-hmm. And for listeners, what's SIS?
School Information System. And but we were trying to figure out if we should do a server base, which is versus our cloud. And because we project the web, we end up taking the chance and say we're going to do cloud. We're going to get involved with cloud. And that was when we got involved with Fax SIS, which was back then RenWeb. And it took us 3 years before we could convince anybody that this was the way to go, because everyone was saying at the time, 2006, 2007, we don't have proper internet bandwidth, we didn't have this, we didn't have that, and but
you certainly had that vision that's where it was going.
Yeah, we had the vision that this was where it was eventually going to take us, and we stick with it. Yeah. And I think our first school was Campion College. Mm-hmm. And then once we got Campion, a lot of the other schools start seeing the vision, and they move on.
You came on board. So, let me hear Paul Harris now, because when Sir Grant talks about the cloud, Paul Harris, I have listeners who may be thinking, clouds in the sky? what kind of clouds would this company be involved with? So when we're talking about cloud, what are we talking about?
All right, so when somebody says cloud, in the context of IT, that means that your data resides somewhere on the internet in a secured environment, of course. So cloud simply means that, back in the day when, IT infrastructure was having all of these computer systems at your office or at your location that somebody had to manage and back up and ensure that it is working So we moved away from that in early 2000. So we took those resources and put that on the internet. So you simply had to just have an internet connection to access your infrastructure. So cloud in a nutshell really just means that all your resources, all your information and data is stored somewhere on a server on the internet. So you can just access it once you have an internet connection.
Mm-hmm. So explain to us, Paul, this matter of school information systems as it stands today. What is the core of Zed's business in relation to that?
Well, the core of Zed's business is to focus on schools. So schools storing your staff, your students, your classes, your historical data. So you can imagine that's thousands of records when you think of schools that have been in operation for many years,
centuries in some cases.
Man, some of them 200 years. So things like that. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of our core things that we're looking at right now is the storing of historical data. So schools that have been in operation even before they acquired our system, we're telling them, start to store this data, because several schools we've been, and papers literally running them out of the office. There's just no more space.
Yes. When I was in high school, I remember going in the office and those stacks of files. Yes. Those yellow file jackets. Yes.
I wonder if anybody ever goes through them.
You can imagine when you go back for your transcript, somebody has to go through and search deeply for that. So we're trying to get schools to move away from that. So have an IT infrastructure for that kind of thing.
Yeah. Do we have Sean Forbes now?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. So Sean, when you make that pitch as the marketing and sales manager, to say, come on, we can give you, the cloud service, we can make your life easier, more efficient, we can put the files out there into the cloud. Do you find that Jamaicans are receptive to that idea, or we're still beholden to the file jacket and the cabinet?
All right, so that is a catch-22, because the younger persons are willing to move towards a more modern type storage facility in the cloud, while the more seniors are a little bit hesitant.
They trust the paper.
Right, because them can reach and put the paper and need to look for it. But I think it differs with technology, where some of them is not willing to let go of the archaic old way of doing things and move into the new digital dispensation.
And how do you see Zed playing a role in changing that culture? Because the culture has to change. So you all had the vision in early 2000 that this is where the world was going to go. We are very much along that road. How do we start to bring our fellow Jamaicans along into the new dispensation? Sean?
Well, so first we have to educate them. We have to hold them hand, because they have to understand why we need to go this route. So in case, example, illustration of fire. If a fire should happen, God forbid, okay, you're looking at an entire archive of files and folders getting destroyed.
Yes.
While in the cloud now, you look at the different redundancy backup you put in place. So if one side goes down, there's another site available to pull the data from. So we'll have to teach them the pros and cons. We also have to teach them the cost-benefit analysis, where if you're spending this large sums of money annually on budget, anywhere from about $4.5–6 million in printing, paper, servicing the stenographer machine, all these different things, you can reallocate those resources to other needed things that are a pressing need for the school. So we try to show them the cost-benefit analysis. We also try to teach them the importance of coming into the digital space.
So do I hear you saying, on balance, going digital may prove cheaper for the schools? We've seen that we've dropped Sean.
Hey.
All right. Yes. Hearing you again, Sean. So I was saying, are you saying on balance, going digital may prove cheaper for these schools? No, we've dropped him.
Yes. You hearing me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, man. Hearing you, Sean. Go ahead.
Right. Repeat, because repeat the question.
Oh, I was asking if you're saying on balance, going digital may prove cheaper for the schools.
Yes. We try to lay out the cost benefit analysis, because you will save, and that money can be reallocated to other needs, right? So it is a fact that you will save. Once you master the system, you will see the benefit.
Yeah.
So tell me, Mr. Grant, I hear how he has laid out the pitch there, but even in these times where people are sure that digital is the way forward, you still have a lot of resistance. Have you found that to be the case in these school systems as they stand today?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's we're used to 300 years of doing things, and it's not going to change. No. I think once the younger principals come in place, I think there are more to do that. But within the school system, you have the challenges that you have is pretty much you have so many different red tapes. You've got the ministry up here. Then you have the
School
different
board.
regional
Right.
ministries. You have 7 of those.
Right.
That's another layer. And then you have all the school boards. And I'm always perplexed by saying, why does all the schools ask to have boards, each of the schools? It's like, what would happen if Microsoft had a board for each of its outlets, or any larger corporation would have?
So you're thinking some kind of regional structure where a regional board governs a group or cluster of schools?
Yeah, I always think that we need to rethink boards, because these are not people who are being paid, and so they have to go out there and work for their living too, and it's hard to focus on all these different dynamics at the same time. And what you need when we're doing a presentation for a school, we find maybe 99% of the time we do not have the board involvement, and that presentation is in front of teachers and administrators, and they understand and they get the concept, but now they have to take it to a board and sell it to that board. And that's where the issues comes in.
Yeah.
And what Sean said is very true, because we have schools that spend $6 million on paper. But how do you convey that to them, that you're spending $6 million on paper? Because it's hard to do that, because again we have separate. We have this idea that there's no actual person that monitoring what we spend on paper and saying, okay, fine, if we spend 30% less, that can pay for digitizing the entire school
and cloud services
and the cloud services. So it's a challenge that we face, but I mean, the young principal, we've got some schools that understand Southborough.
Right, because I was going to ask you, what are some of the other schools? Because you mentioned Campion College, and that doesn't surprise me, because they have a digital culture.
Yes.
But what are some of the other schools where the uptake has been good, and you see them progressing in the right direction where digital is concerned?
I mean, apart from all the traditional schools like the JC, the Campion, Arden, Alpha, we have most of the traditional schools. We have around 90% of those schools. So they're the ones that are there. But what I think in 2017, we did meet with the Ministry of Education, and we did discuss having the non-traditional school being part of our program of what we're doing. And we went out and gave a better price point for those schools. So we have schools that come on board like.
Oh, so you were willing to work with them on pricing?
Oh, yeah.
They were
non-traditional. We did that. So we have schools like Papine High,
right,
which is using the actual or payment portion of the platform, the student billing platform. Excellent. They don't collect funds through the office for, say, CSAT or registration.
Right.
It's all done through our system online, and they pay for it.
So in other words, the sort of, this is my word, it may not be petty cash, but the sort of petty cash that you go to the office to collect,
Yes.
and they put it in the pan. In my tell you to put it in the
then you
silver
write on
pan.
the seat,
Right.
And then I went to one of our school yesterday, and it was, there was a lineup from the
Yes.
nursery all the way down. And
Right.
so it's hard to convince them that, okay, fine, let's digitize all of this. Let's
Right.
make this go online.
Mhm.
But we're trying. But you have, like I said, you have schools that, you have some primary schools, like I said, Southborough and Portsmouth.
That's impressive, by the way, and I'm happy to hear that primary schools.
Yeah,
are
we have
utilizing
some
that.
primary schools that's really, and I'm proud of them. We have, like I said, the non-traditional school, Tarrant High. Who else? Edith Dalton.
Yeah.
A lot of schools that have Jose Martin. They're coming along, but
Yeah.
takes some
If I could just ask Siobhan, Paul Harris, because you said something that struck me a while ago in terms of the payments, because we know there have been issues in the past about
Oh, yes.
security, about bursars and their ability
yes.
to access cash, Paul Harris. And that has become a security issue at certain schools. So in terms of the cloud service, you talked about secure data at the top of the conversation. If a school is listening now, Paul Harris, and they think, okay, that sounds like a good idea, but will this make me less susceptible to theft? What would you say to them?
Yeah, for sure. So the first part of that conversation is we are completely removing the cash and the management of cash from the school, and once parents start paying online, for example, or we do have a partnership with Lasco Financial where you may still have parents who want to pay cash,
Right.
so they can go to those branch locations where they handle security, so they move their cash securely. So in terms of the physical security of money, that is already in place. Now with the digital securing of money, of course we use a Sagicor payment gateway, so all of the security for your online payments are already built in to those systems, and of course we don't store credit card information. So you find once you start to do those digital approaches that you essentially start to integrate security in all of that. So the physical security of the cash and the digital security is definitely covered when using our online payment system.
And certainly you have statistics to back up a lot of this, because now that you've had the ball rolling, you've been in quite a few schools. What kind of reduction in terms of cost, improvement in efficiency have you been able to find is gained through using these school information systems?
Oh man, well, if you're talking about efficiency, definitely you are almost virtually eliminating paper, and we know as a highly paper-based society, searching for things or waiting for turnaround times, the use of paper makes these things so long. But once you start to digitize your processes, then you find that if a parent requests something or they need to see something, they can log into the system and access it, or if they request the school can quickly find it. So you'd find that the turnaround time is far better, and you're highly efficient. So even when COVID struck, our schools could quickly still keep going. It wasn't weird to work off-site, or it wasn't weird to go into a digital space to conduct your classes. So things like that just made them easily adaptable to change.
I heard you say something a while ago that struck me. You said the parents can log on to the system themselves?
Yeah, so there's a what we call the family portal side of the system. So parents can log in and see things like attendance, see things that the schools post in terms of announcements, report cards, things like that. So the parents are also integrated into all of this. So the information share is there. And one thing I even want to mention about the payment side of it, my personal experience, when you used to go to the bank, you have to come back to the school.
Yes, we used to get one voucher. Get a voucher. Yes.
So just thinking about that experience alone, you waste 2 hours in the bank.
Yes.
You waste another hour to go back down to the school, and and sometimes it's not even updated in real time to show that you paid.
Right.
So using the payment platform, that is virtually eliminated. Once you pay, The school is notified, you're issued a receipt, and you can log on to your account to say, okay, I owe that, I paid this, I know my balance is zero, or I still have something else outstanding. Everybody can see. So the information share is highly improved.
What a
And, you know,
time
you
to be
actually get your
alive.
receipt.
What a time to be alive.
right?
Because I recall I'd have to get my voucher.
Yeah, you got
then
to stand in the bank.
Yes, and then them sign it up and I carry it to the... Okay, interesting.
Oh, man. And when COVID hit, imagine that process was just crazy.
Yeah.
You probably spent a whole day just trying to pay school fees.
Right.
You know, and we even share with the schools that, you know, even that process sometimes is just a turn off for parents because you literally don't have the time. So using our payment, you know, system, want to go to Alaska Financial, for example, if you want to pay cash, you can pay on the weekend at your own convenience. You can pay online. If you have somebody overseas who want to, you know, offer the contribution for the student, they can do that. So you actually open up the gateways to collecting more money because you make it easier for persons and using moral suasion, of course, you know, you're putting it, hey, you know, you can pay a little thing towards a contribution easily by doing this. You know, sometimes it results in you collecting more money.
And I can see the savings because, again, I keep just referring to my time. I would recall that if there was a general notice the school was sending out, then every single student would get a printed letter
that you have to bring home to
that you have to bring home.
That somehow the dog eat.
Precisely. If you don't want mommy see it, you tuck it away in the bag. It doesn't stay in the bag. So you're saying now, once the alert goes out from the school, they log on to the family portal, and mommy and daddy can see the information.
They can see the information. So no more hiding it in the bag or
Yes.
just tucking it away and anything like that. The information is there. So, and even in attendance. And one thing I told a school just the other day that, you know, instead of waiting a whole term to see how your child was performing, you can get a progress report. So, you know, they did a test last week. You can see why they failed or they're not doing well and engage the teacher instead of waiting till the end of term to see that, you know, they're failing out or they're not performing or even attending school by that. You know, so information share actually helps with that process.
So Sean Forbes, what is the engagement process or the engagement relationship? Because certainly you have to, as pointed out by Mr. Grant, you have to touch every level of the school system. You have to talk to the Ministry of Education, you have to talk to the school boards, and you have to talk to the regional offices. So how do you engage a school in terms of adopting one of these school information systems?
Okay. So the first thing we do, sometimes we have relationships or we have cold call contacts, right? We will blast out emails. Okay, once there's a response to any of those communication, we engage them in a discussion and to find out what are their needs, the pain points, and then we do a deep dive into how our system can offer a solution to make their life easy. Moving from that, now we will now engage in a demonstration. What we have found is that people want to hear price, how much your product costs. We're saying to you, listen, it is not always good to just hear a price because you might get turned off. So the example or illustration we use is a car. So you have a Toyota, reliable product, and you have a luxury car, a BMW, okay? Both cars operate the same by getting into the destination, point A to point B.
Right.
We're saying to you that let us show you what the system can do for you first. And once you get a concept and understand what the product can do for you, we talk about price. Okay? That way, you know, you can match the value what you're getting with the price you're paying.
Yes.
Right? Again, if you need a car to get you to work or to wherever and it's convenient and private, certainly you see the value of the car. Despite the car might cost you $25,000 a month, but you still have your own private space and you can get to places easier. The same analogy we try to bring across and to show them the cost-benefit analysis. We're saying to you that, listen, the price you pay for a slice of bread, that is the same price that can maintain the child on the system for the entire year with all data being stored, security in place and stuff like that. Okay? And so it is always important to illustrate and to show them the product before they actually get the price. Then they will say, okay, I see what you're saying. Yes. The only challenge that we find is that when we're doing the demo, we want everybody to be on board. The chairman of the board, the key players and decision makers in the demo. The reason being because you can't have the principal doing all the work, and when she present it to the board, she gets shut down. This and that too expensive, and that and that and that. So we said, no, try and get one of the key decision makers to hear and see, and then they will be sold. They can ask questions, same time to get it resolved before we can move forward. So those are some of the scenarios and analogy and ways we have to communicate to get the product into the school and to move forward. And the next thing we try to do is create a partnership. We're not selling them a product. We're creating a partnership between us and them for them to understand it's a lifelong, partnership, right? We are here for you. We want to support you. We want to enhance your skill set, upsell your skill, so that when you move from that school and go abroad, you can say, hey, I was able to use this particular system, I'm versed in it, and then you quickly can get a job in that respect,
Indeed.
So those are some of the scenario and things we use.
Gentlemen, we're up on the break. Listeners, you're listening to a special broadcast marking the 21st year in business of Zed Jamaica. What's Zed Jamaica? It's a high-powered interactive creative agency specializing in web-based school information systems and integrating applications that allow schools the ability to increase performance at scale. And so far, they've been telling us about ways in which they're transforming operations at schools. We take the break and come back with more.
We've been a part of everyday Jamaican life for over 25 years. From paydays to birthdays, unexpected emergencies to anniversary celebrations, the supermarket checkout line, or paying a bill or taxes on time. Our fast, secure debit network provides reliable service so you can always depend on Multilink. Jamaican and proud, fast, secure, everywhere.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
Watch for Shelley Fraser Price.
I stay locked to the Olympics because, of course, I'm Jamaican. What you mean? Me, I have to tune into the Olympics, man. Because I'm always busy, but what? I have to know when Sherika Jackson beat Shakari. Brother, I have to have every notification for the Olympics. I want to hear every run.
Now Sherika Jackson coming up.
Every jump.
Oh, that is absolutely huge of Wade Pinkham.
Every fling. Live.
So, take us then.
Nothing can miss me.
We're always on the move.
So while we're driving, run, Elaine, run.
Jogging. Yes. Run, Watson. Win again.
Watson is now a world champion.
Or even at work.
Quick. The race has started.
We can't miss a beat because we keep it locked
to the only station
for the Paris Olympics.
Nationwide.
Nationwide. Nationwide.
Nationwide. 90 FM.
Nationwide 90.1, 90.3, 90.5, 90.7 and 90.9, and on YouTube at Nationwide 90 FM Live. Nationwide, the new revolution in media.
It's 6:36 and you're tuned in to Nationwide at 5. It's a special broadcast marking the 21st year of operation for Zed Jamaica. Zed Jamaica is a high-powered interactive creative agency specializing in web-based school information systems. They've been telling us about all the exciting ways they're using technology to transform the operations at schools. We're now being joined by Executive Vice President of Fax International, Mark Weil. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
In this segment, we'll be talking to Mr. Weil about Fax SIS, RenWeb School Management Systems. So go ahead, Mr. Weil. Explain to us what exactly is Fax International and what do you do?
Yeah, thank you again for having me on this evening and for the program. It's been fun to be a part of this so far. So, yeah, Carlton mentioned earlier the brand name Fax, and I've been a part of this organization for about 2 decades now. Carlton and I have a long, enduring relationship. I tell people he's my brother. They look at me twice like, oh, wait a minute, how is that? But we're of one mind, heart, and vision, and we have had an exciting time extending that vision into the Jamaican culture and market, educational market. Fax International is the arm of Fax that is responsible for the diversification of our organization by bringing our products and services into international markets. And that was something that we began around 2005 and have really amped that up in recent years with a degree of urgency. But our design in delivering our services globally is through a distribution model where we credential and provide authority and access for companies like Zed Jamaica to be on the ground, boots in the ground, understand the culture, and deliver our services to the local K-12 educational market. So we now are quite diversified. We have approximately 10 global offices. We have schools actively using our system in about 65 countries. So obviously the largest footprint that we have is within the U.S., where 1 in 2 private schools use one of our services, which is a pretty staggering statistic when you think about it. But we're really working hard, and we're anxious to have that replicated in other sectors, and this is why we're really pleased with the work that Zed Jamaica has done and the progress that we've made.
I hear you on yourself and Carlton Grant being like brothers, of one mind, one heart, one vision. But specifically, what was it about Zed Jamaica that made you confident, that made Fax International confident that this is an outfit you wanted to partner with?
So, I'm asked this a lot because people will say, well, how did you find your partner in Jamaica, or how did you find your partner in Pakistan? Mm-hmm. And, some of it's luck, to be quite honest, and some of it's relationship, or some of it's inquiry. And in Zed Jamaica's case, they reached out to us, as Carlton mentioned, because they decided that they wanted to find an innovative solution. Now, if you go back 20 years, and Paul would confirm this, that finding school information systems that were cloud hosted 2 decades ago was very rare. In fact, our company was really the first company that took that approach and introduced an innovative hosted solution that really caught on like a fire, and people were so thrilled and excited about it. So Zed Jamaica reached out to my office, and this goes back some 17, 18 years ago, and we just started a conversation. And I had never been to Jamaica before and didn't know anyone in your country, and it just sort of, we just hit it off. It was like we shared a common fervor and passion for what we wanted to accomplish. We felt confident in Zed's integrity of purpose and mission, and we developed a strategy that we both could get behind. And as Carlton mentioned, I think our first school was Campion, and it just progressed from there. So obviously we've built up a lot of confidence and trust over these years, and we see them as one of our foremost distributors.
So what sets the Fax SIS school management system apart from its competitors?
Well, as I mentioned 20 years ago, it was much easier to distinguish yourself as a software provider, because at that time you had platforms that were being designed on software that literally you don't really see today. I'm talking about coding and programming, and you saw the standard at that time was a locally hosted product. You buy it, you install it on your server in the school, you use a local area network, and you broadcast it either through Ethernet or however you choose to do that inside the walls of your building. So we were innovative from the beginning, and that really helped us attract a lot of consumers because over the last couple of decades, families are looking for ways to forage and gather information other than being able to walk into the school and have a conversation, which has become increasingly difficult with, congestion, traffic, schedules, both parents working, you name it. There's a lot of reasons. So as time has elapsed, though, it's become more difficult to distinguish ourselves in the sense that a lot of people copy a lot of people, and so you have a lot of cloud-hosted solutions today. That's not a distinguishing point anymore. And really the part that really makes sense, and I think all of our listeners will understand this when I say this, is that we like to have everything that we need in a small sphere of influence. It doesn't matter if we're cooking in the kitchen. We don't want to have the knife in the bedroom and the roller, in the garage and the pot in the back porch. We want everything close by where we can get to it. And that's really the way that we think about our product. We want to have a very cohesive solution that's highly integrated, that allows schools to be able to use it without a lot of redundant work and without the worries of, is someone going to break in our institution and they're going to take our data, or they're going to try to break into the transmission of our data and perpetrate and steal information that way. So you have to have a reputation of excellence where the data is protected and secure. That's just number one. Everybody's talking about that,
and that would be my next question, Mark. While for a Jamaican school administrator who is listening and thinks, yeah, that sounds like something I'd want to get on board with, but I've heard of hacking. I've heard of people, holding data at ransom and requiring me to pay millions of dollars to get it back. What assurance can you give them that, if they come on board with the system, then the data is secure?
So there's two parts that make the whole. And the first part is that you want the company that you're partnering with, and, we can look at the things that are around us where we're sitting right now, those mobile devices that you have in your hands or that are sitting on the table in front of you. We place our trust in institutions and businesses to use state-of-the-art, proven technologies that are protected against perpetration. So that means that companies like ours, we need to use hosting services that are considered platinum standard. And you're talking about Microsoft Azure cloud hosting, for example, which is what we use. Or you could use AWS, Amazon Web Services, as another one. These are the most common platforms that are hosting data for the majority of the businesses that we know today. So you want to put your data in an environment like that, but then you also have to think about what's happening when the data is being transmitted from A to B. So now we're talking about using encryption technology, and we employ the highest consumer encryption technology that is available to businesses, and that is essential for us to ensure that we are protected from potential intrusion. Now that's the one half. The other half has to do with the local institution. So as a consumer, no matter who you are, if you go to the ATM and you're just boldly putting in your PIN number when someone's standing beside you, you're placing yourself at risk, right? So it's the same within schools. Schools have to have policies and train personnel about the importance of protecting their passwords. They cannot share those. They should not share them even with an individual that works within the institution. They certainly should not allow a student to stand over their shoulder as they enter their password to log into their system and so forth. These are just common sense things, but people can make mistakes. But in that event, we do have a rigorous backup and redundancy of data archives so that if if a school has someone within their school that, goes ahead and just deletes some records, that they could approach us and receive a backup that would be within 1 day and would help them to restore that. But we as a company have never had a single intrusion or compromise of our data since our company was formed, which we are proud of.
Yeah, and that should help in offering some peace of mind to those who already use the system and those who may be considering it. So we're going to turn our attention now to the WAVE Awards. That's an interesting name, the WAVE Awards. What's that about?
Well, the WAVE Award is an award that we just actually designed and initiated. And we have a small management team that focuses on the international side of our business, but we have a much larger division within the U.S. But globally, we have several hundred people that are managing our business across all these offices. And in our core management team in the U.S., we were talking about this, and we just said, we need to start being more proactive about honoring and recognizing the amazing work that our distribution partners like Zed Jamaica, for example, has done all these years. And we developed a criterion that we thought this is the right stuff that we ought to be looking for when we're trying to decide who would be the company that we would want to honor as the World Award of VAR Excellence within an annual period. And so we developed that criterion, and it's logical things. It's like, did they increase their top line revenue year over year and achieve their sales goals? You heard from Sean, who's very passionate. Do they utilize our infrastructure effectively, like our CRM, Salesforce.com? Did they present a professional storefront as a business in terms of the way that they approach prospective schools and handling current schools from a customer service and loyalty perspective? And are they innovative, and are they looking at how to grow their brand? So these are all the kinds of things that we use as an evaluation of all of our distribution offices. And we unanimously, it was interesting, the process, because everybody has a voice and you've got a lot of choices, and everybody unanimously penned Zed Jamaica as the company that we wanted to honor during the 2023 business year.
Oh, so congratulations, Mr. Grant.
So tell me more about the WAVE Award. Exactly what does it entail in terms of, does it convey any special benefit to the distributor that wins it?
Well, we just think that there's a certain degree of important publicity that comes from this. And I do want to congratulate Zed Jamaica on the air with us here today, because we're really proud of their accomplishments. I mean, when you think about going into any culture and country where there is no brand awareness at all, and you have to start a conversation. You start a conversation with one school and you just start having conversations, and people are resistant to change. We've talked about that during the first segment, right? And so you have to inspire them for the reasons why it's important to innovate, modernize, and overcome some of the barriers that are related to the practices that they've been keeping up for all these decades and even centuries. So I really commend them for building a brand awareness and a followership and sort of a wagonistic culture around the FACS student information system and the importance that it can play and is playing today in the presence of K-12 education in the country of Jamaica. And so we have made an internal announcement in our company to acknowledge them. We have around 9,000 employees in our parent company, so that went out to everyone to make them alert and aware. If they hadn't heard of Zed Jamaica before, they know them now, and we're proud to have your country's name in that company name, and that people are hearing and seeing that. There was an article that was written and published so that people could see faces and hear stories. And I'm going to be in Kingston this coming Monday, actually, and there for several days. It's like a second home to me. I'm holding out for citizenship, but no one's come up to me and offered me a passport yet, but one of these days. But I do love coming there, and I'm going to be there on Monday, and we're going to have a dinner and recognize the team and applaud their great work.
Yeah. And where are some of the other countries, or what are some of the other countries where you've had partners who you've been able to bestow this award on, this WAVE award?
Well, we have not yet, because this is the first time that we ever had this award issued out. 2023 was our first year.
All the more reason to congratulate Zed.
It's true. It's very true, because it was wide open. No one had ever received this before.
Yeah.
We've got offices now in Canada. We have them in Madrid, Spain, Karachi, Pakistan, Tegucigalpa, Honduras, Guam, over in the Greater Oceania Marianas area. So we've got quite a breadth of real estate that we're working within.
Yeah.
And this island that's sitting down here in the Caribbean called Jamaica is first up to bat. So we're proud of them.
Yeah, now that's impressive, because I don't think a lot of people would immediately think Jamaica when they think of a country being at the edge of technological, innovation and development. So congratulations again to Zed.
And certainly, Mr. Weil, after coming to that conclusion, because it seems that you came to that conclusion almost unanimously amongst your staff, when you looked at what Zed Jamaica accomplished, do you see where you can now take that success and replicate it elsewhere?
Sure. There's some things that Carlton, Paul, the entire team has emulated that I think is important. Number one, their availability and attention to their customers is top shelf, like number one. And so that has allowed them to retain schools, even going through what would be considered the most difficult economic and social phase of during COVID that we've ever seen in life and business. So that is completely worth emulating in terms of their attention to customer. Other things that they've done, though, this very thing that we're doing here today, just being on air, communicating with the citizens and hosting swim meets, and just really showing that we want to be actively involved in the community in other ways, and establish relationships, friendship, and loyalty, trust. There's a lot that they're doing well, and we're proud of them.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And then, so now, going forward now, what do you see for the future of the partnership between Facts International and Zed Jamaica?
So this is something that I think, again, I'm going to draw some energy from the first segment that we did when we're talking about this question. It's a bit of a dichotomy in the sense that, you always have those early adopters.
Yeah.
And people say, well, yeah, we understand that you are embedded in schools X, Y, and Z. They're more native technologist-focused institutions. But what about institutions ABC? And those could be, you have many rural areas in Jamaica.
Yes.
We early on had terrible difficulty with getting internet access in order to be able to have a cloud-hosted solution even work. So while we can be proud of ourselves that we have a core followership of schools, which is substantial on the island, there is a whole lot of unrealized potential that is still there for us to approach. And one of the things that was said earlier when we were talking about school administrators and getting the older guard, I'm a school director, so I can say this, and I hope all the school administrators that are listening right now will take heart from this. I come from that side of the world. I was involved in education as school director, and it doesn't mean that what the schools are doing is wrong if they are still using dated practices, because that's what they know and they're familiar with.
Yes.
It's just that it limits their ability to do more. So you can say, well, I've got a landline. Why do I need a mobile phone? Well, it's great as long as you're inside the four walls of your house and you're using your landline. But the minute that you step outside, you don't have a phone, right? So it's that sort of psychology that we need to be able to step into the modernization era of education. Now, I want to pinpoint this, though, because this is really important. We've talked a lot about efficiency and not having to go stand in the bank and then get a receipt and on and on.
Right.
And those things are real. Efficiencies, and I've always said, if it was just about efficiency, that would really be enough. But it's about so much more, because the kind of families that we're educating today, they're native technologists, right? How many parents do you know that have children in primary or middle or even secondary school that don't have one or two cell phones, right? I mean, they're relying upon mobility. And so when
especially in this post-COVID era. Yeah,
100%. So those families are relying upon mobility, and we have to think about what we're delivering to our customer as a school. These families are our responsibility and our customer. So we're saying, listen, the only way that we can properly educate and have our best shot at helping all these young people become the best that they can be, we need to be able to have transparency of what's going on.
Right.
Parents need to be informed about where the child is, what they're doing, and how they're progressing, and get involved in a conversation and say, what can we do? How can we do this together? But if you have to run back and forth physically into an institution every time you're having those conversations, a lot of things are going to fall through the cracks.
Yeah. So essentially, yes to schools and yes to the integration of the technology in schools, but you're saying you also see other opportunities in other sectors. What are some of those?
Well, I think, we're only limited by our creativity. So, one of the things that we learned during COVID was that a lot of people had to get really good at trying to do things like we're doing here today, online, communicating remotely. And then I think, and I've said this to a lot of schools as I've talked in different places around the world, think about the brightest teacher that you ever had, or that you have right now in your school. Maybe it's that chemistry teacher, maybe it's an English teacher, whatever it is. And think to yourself, how many students are there globally that need to take advantage of that person's knowledge? What are you doing to leverage that? I mean, Jamaica's full of bright people. You've got people all over the world. You have more people living outside Jamaica than you do Jamaicans living within Jamaica.
Indeed.
And they're doing amazing things. So we need to retain that brain trust, right? We want to keep Jamaicans invested in Jamaica, and we want them to self-actualize and get as far as they can. So here we have brilliant teachers. We have students that can develop peer relationships and work on projects creatively across borders, right? It doesn't have to be the student that's sitting across from you in the classroom. It can be anywhere.
So it's about that connectivity. Yeah.
It is. It is getting the right people connected and sparking ideas and developing creativity and accomplishment. There was a, and I like to tell this story. There's a school in China that was one of the most innovative schools that I've ever really seen a case study on, and the students don't attend classes like every hour of every day. They work in groups and projects, and it's sort of student-directed learning. But every student in the school is responsible for identifying their area of gifting. And I actually mentioned this story when we were in Jamaica last and had our event at the Pegasus, where we had our luncheon. There was a student in that school that was gifted in sort of geometry, physics, architecture, and he developed a medical surgical instrument before he was even graduated from high school that was patented, that was saving people's lives.
Wow.
So we're thinking to ourselves, how much energy and opportunity is there within the minds and hearts of these young people that we just need to get them in a position where they can uncork and really do what they're destined to do and use the gifts that God gave them.
Yeah. All right. No, I'm excited. I'm excited for all the potential that exists. Mark Weil is the Executive Vice President at Fax International. Thank you so much, Mark Weil. Listeners, we're up on the next break. We'll take the break. And after the break, a part that I'm particularly excited about, robotics. And I hope I'm not too old. I hope I can learn some robotics. We come back with more.
The Leaders Conference of Choice is back on site at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel and online. Register now for Middle Managers Leadership Conference. Call 876-978-60012 or visit www.makeyourmarkgroup.com. Sponsored by Make Your Mark Group, Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, JPS, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, Monographic Printers, Main Event Entertainment Group, Nationwide News Network, and Visual Tech Solutions. Middle Managers Conference, May 1 to 2, 2024. Sign up at www.makeyourmarkgroup.com.
Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top. So crisp, so light, so buttery. When you're good, you're just good. Hey, had the national flavor. You go off and buy this bag. So good, it's just so good. Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top. So crisp, so light, so buttery. National Baking Company, just so good.
Importers. Shipments requiring you to pay customs duties and taxes are cleared on a customs goods declaration known as an IM4 or IMS4. Ask your clearing agent to provide your customs declaration, customs assessment notice, and customs receipt once duties and taxes are paid. Where your clearing agent may not be able to provide the IM4 or IMS4, request your customs goods declaration registration number or C number, which can be used to verify your payments. Importers, request your IM4, IMS4, or C number. It is your right. For details, email the Jamaica Customs Agency at public.relations@jca.gov.jm. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
I'm Dennis Brooks. I'm Alan Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we are all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Welcome back. We're celebrating Zed Jamaica's 21st anniversary, and now we're turning into an interesting topic. Mr. Brooks seems quite interested in this topic.
Coding and robotics. Yes, man.
Earlier in the show, we mentioned that Zed will be hosting a robotics summer camp this year. And to discuss further, we are now going to be joined by co-founder and CEO of Zebra Robotics, Satish, and forgive me for this name, Thiagarajaran, and co-founder and chief business officer of Zebra Robotics, Jayendra Balasubramanian, as well as the director of Mars Business Solutions, Rashid Mohammed, who will be handling our discussion regarding the logistics of the summer camp. And still in studio with us is the managing director of Zed Jamaica, Carlton Grant. So, good afternoon. Good evening, rather, I should say.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. How are you?
Doing well.
So, before we get to you, gentlemen, I have to bring in Carlton Grant. Explain to us this correlation in terms of robotics and Zed Jamaica.
Well, we're in the business of education, so I think robotics just comes natural in terms of the attraction to students in Jamaica and how well we have done in the last couple of years. So this was brought to our attention by Rashid and a good friend of mine in Toronto, Mark and Olga, who is the actual founder of a local entity here in Jamaica called Island Fortune, which is an investment arm, which is the investment arm that actually is taking care of most of the resources that we'll have coming into Jamaica in the next couple of months. So because we're in education, we felt that this is right up our alley, and we wanted to put something on. Of course, we've done different ideas of stuff. We've done last year. We did the cybersecurity and data protection seminar at the Pegasus. I think a few years ago we did the swim event, the Red Web swim event that was completely filmed by I think it was one of the television stations here in Jamaica. And that was a good event. So this year we just thought that robotics is one of the 6 technological revolution that is going to be that we have to look out for in terms of robotics, AI, and blockchain technology, and a couple others. So we thought that it would be something that we should get involved in, and of course we always want to be ahead of the curve. So we thought that this is a good time for us to look at it. And then when we do these things, we want to do the best job. We don't want to just do something. It's not about trying to increase revenue or anything. It's trying to bring something to Jamaica to have the school sustain this, to transfer the actual knowledge.
To ensure Jamaica doesn't fall behind.
Yeah, and I think so. It was something that we think that we'll do, and we wanted to do. So we're stuck here.
So coming to you, Satish, explain to us what exactly is Zebra Robotics.
Hi. First of all, thanks for having me here. This is fantastic. I'm learning a lot about Zed Jamaica and the program and facts from Mark. Robotics, as you know, is everywhere right now, right? I mean, we are talking about AI. We are talking about robots taking the jobs from us. So there is a lot of discussion in the media about robotics. But where we focus on, gentlemen, is to introduce kids to robotics. So there are a couple of advantages. Not only are they going to learn about robotics, but they're also going to experience a different kind of learning. So gone are the days, in my opinion, where your teacher stands in the front and the students are sitting, at their desk listening to what is being taught to them from blackboard and whiteboard and whatnot. We want to enable the teachers to say, okay, now get your hands dirty by building a robot, by programming a robot, and trying to apply whatever you learn. So there is a lot of excitement in the class that we want to bring. And invariably, we have seen the classrooms get a lot noisy and a lot of high fives in the class. And it's a different atmosphere. And we want to bring that excitement back to education.
And that's interesting. When you think robotics, you think engineers and MIT and Caltech.
And nerds. Don't forget nerds. Don't forget the nerds.
Well, you don't exactly think about kids in like high school or such just doing these type of experiments. So how exactly do you get that to that level where someone who is going through high school or primary school can understand and be engaged in robotics?
That's a very good question. So everyone gets intimidated by robotics because it's being used by NASA and the big universities that you talked about. But fundamentally, if you kind of take a step back, if you break it down into ABCs that people can understand the basics, that quickly they start constructing words and sentences just like English, right? So we want to teach the kids at a very early age, even from grade 2, grade 3 onwards, what is a robot, right? I mean, you see many of the machines around us all the time. You go to your grocery store, the door opens automatically when it senses you, so how does it open? When you go to the airport, when you keep your hands under the tap, the water comes automatically. We don't turn the taps anymore in many places. How does that work, right? So we want to encourage kids to start thinking and questioning what they see and experience around them. And over a period of time, they are going to want to learn more. How do we make this? How do I put these sensors together to do what I wanted to do, right? We teach them how to program them, do simple tasks. And what you have seen is over a period of time, 3 years, 4 years, they start to build some sophisticated robots. I mean, as a robotics lead coach for some of the teams, I find it, wow, these guys have exceeded my knowledge now, right? So give them the power of knowledge and they will show what they can do.
And Jayendra, what encouraged you to partner with Zed in terms of starting this robotic summer camp?
Yeah, so thank you again for having us here. We've been wanting to take both robotics and coding outside of US and Canada, and we were looking at opportunities for us to explore outside. And Mr. Rashid and Zed Jamaica came to us, and we started talking. We felt like there was a good wavelength. I think we all have the same goal of taking education to kids and wanting them to learn and grow from there. And so it turned out to be a great opportunity. We've been enjoying our engagement so far, and we look forward to continuing to have that.
And in terms of, so you talk about taking robotics and coding outside of the US and Canada. Here in Jamaica, we know only select schools have dabbled in robotics. So is the intention to try to broaden that scope and that base of involvement?
That's exactly right. I think that is the goal. I think we want to get there. I think in this summer we're going to pilot it in a few schools. Test it out, test the waters there, and we do feel that we have a really good curriculum, and we have a program. We have a proven model that we have tried here in both Canada and the US. And so we feel that, we are set up there, and with the framework and the partnership with Zed Jamaica, we feel that we can certainly take that to schools out there.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of training the trainers, my term, how do you go about that to ensure the sustainability? Because it's all well and good that we go to a camp and we have a good time, we build a robot, and I'm hoping to build a robot that can make me stew peas, but that aside. so we build a robot and it does well, but then in terms of the long-term sustainability, how are we training the teachers to ensure that that knowledge base stays?
Yeah, so we have a good training plan, and the goal is for us to make sure we take some key people from the schools, train them, make sure that they have the knowledge of how to engage the kids in the classroom. Right? It's one thing to have a content, and the content we have it on the cloud, but it's another thing to engage with the kids and get the kids motivated, right? And how do you take that through the process? So we do have a pretty good training plan and a system for that, and the goal is to engage with the schools, but have a master trainer out there that can in turn train additional trainers as they come on board.
And Rashid Mohammed, I understand you're the one to talk to in terms of the nitty-gritty of this robotics summer camp.
Yeah, thanks everybody for having me here. And it started with my idea. So I was talking to Carlton. And Carlton, he gave me a very positive response about that. And during his visit, like 6-7 months back, we started discussing about the robotics and everything. So then he started going and approaching the schools. Then I approached the Zebra Robotics because they are very pioneer here in the North America. So then we partnered with Zebra Robotics and the Zed Jamaica. So we all came on the board, and we started the process of taking robotics to Jamaica, and hope we will be success in that. And we'll start it with the pilot program. And it's the idea of Carlton to start to go with the pilot program, test the waters, what the schools they need and what not and everything. And the Zebra also, they tailored the program in such a way that during the pilot program also, it should be impressive and it should be success. And we are looking for a long-term relationship over there with the schools and everybody.
Here's an interesting question from our YouTube platform, and I want to ask you this, Carlton, because it's important, because the opportunities sound amazing, yeah? And we have this tendency in Jamaica to say, boy, nothing now, go on. But clearly a lot is happening. Bobby Lee's asking whether children in the West will benefit or only the Kingston children will get these opportunities to go to a camp like this. That's a very good question.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. We're still looking at adding Belmont Academy, and hope Mr. Simpson is here because he's listening in on this, because he spoke to me this morning and asked if and said that you'd be interested in hosting that in the West. So yeah, we're going to. We thought about the number of schools, and because we have over 130 schools in like 14 different Caribbean countries. We're trying to figure out, okay, where do we start? We start in Jamaica, and then where's the best place to start? Maybe start in Kingston. See, so the idea is to start where it is red hot, and then use that knowledge and expertise and move out towards the other areas. Just as how we start with Campion College, and then we sort of take that expertise and what we've learned for that and transcend that into different areas. And then we move from there, and then we look at non-traditional school, and then we move from there, we look at primary school, and we look at prep school, and so on and so forth. So we're going to move this as quick as we can, and if we can get a Western school like any school within St. Elizabeth or Westmoreland areas, or even Montego Bay, I think we would. There's enough time for us to get one or so school more on board.
Yeah.
So,
And Rashid Mohammed, when a child comes to the summer camp, first of all, how do they sign up? Let's start there. Do they sign up through school?
There's a registration online that gives they can just go in. It's in the actual flyers are online that we just go to ZedJamaica.com.
And so, does their school need to have a robotics program, or just any child who is interested?
Any child who's interested can go anywhere. I think JC's hosting is hosting the premier hoster of this program right now, because and then we have St. Hilda's High in St. Anne. So there's St. Hilda's. Yeah, St. Hilda's is gung ho on this, and pretty much. I think shout out to the principal there, Mrs. Reed Johnson. She's online somewhere. So St. Hilda was one of the first school who basically signed off on this. They're ready to go. So we have JC St. Hilda's. I think I'm hoping that Hillel would come on. And then we have other schools who express interest, like Wilmers and Arden, and they may be forwarding their student over to JC or to any of the other schools. But we wanted to make sure that we don't overextend ourselves and then and put ourselves in too much of a, because all the equipment and stuff that we have to get that purchase and sources and we have to build those tables that is very expensive and ship them to Jamaica and so we wanted to test the waters first to see
before expanding,
which is great,
yeah.
And do a good project at the same time, because we're always, one thing I don't compromise on is a good product.
The quality.
Yeah.
So Rashid Mohammed, let's talk logistics. What exactly does an interested child or student have to bring in terms of potentially taking part in the summer camp?
Yeah, summer camp, basically the program is designed in such a way that they will be going with the electronics and the robotics, and the coding will be involved in that one. So students will be taking the electronics with them, and the robotics, what they are going to build, the robots, it will be with the schools for them. So they will be learning the electronics and the robotics.
So when they turn up at the camp with Just their notebooks or their iPad? What do I need to bring?
Yeah, iPads. They have to bring the laptops and it. So that's it here.
Okay.
So is the criteria, as in the requirements for them to take part, listed along with the information on the website?
Yeah. So just repeat the website again.
ZedJamaica.com/robotics.
And Rashid Mohammed, and this is where my heart might break, because this way you're probably going to tell me that I don't qualify. But I'm assuming that a student who's going to participate in a robotics camp needs to be good at math and science.
Yeah, basically it's
oh my God. I was afraid you would tell me that.
So let me jump in there to add on to what Rashid is saying.
Yes.
So what we have noticed is sometimes, different kids learn different ways.
Right.
Some of them are experiential learners. They can't understand the concept. So for me, I want to see and do things.
Right.
That's
Tactile.
how I learn better.
Yes.
So a kid that may not have been good in math at school so far can find new way of learning the same math and be good at it now. So we don't need them to know math, or we don't need to have them as a genius science whiz. They just need to come with an open mind and give it a shot, and they may be surprised themselves that they may like math.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So let's talk about time. When exactly do you anticipate that you'll be bringing the summer camp up to speed, and what period of time will it take place over?
And here's an important question to add from Carlene Smith. She's asking what age group the camp targets.
We're targeting anywhere from 11 to 18. Okay. But I think it's if you have a 10-year-old and kid is smart and want to come, why waste the talent? Yeah. it's not. The camp is going to be held in July, from July the 2nd to July the 30th. And it's going to be split up into 2 segments, I think, and morning and afternoon groups. So, and then the morning group will be split up into 2 segments, which is doing two different discipline. Mm-hmm. And there'll be, so the first segment will be 3 hours which is from 9 to 12, and then we're doing from 1 to 4. So there are 2 separate groups itself. So we're hoping that each school will have at least a minimum of 48, or double that if that's the case. But we aim to do around 250 student top. So it's limited. We don't want to go over that amount of student in the actual schools.
Is a camp like this expensive?
I was told that the cost is $60,000, and that is in Jamaican,
right?
And that's for the actual, which is not too much in, and that is for the 4 weeks. We're bringing in all the equipment, so the kids don't have to come in the equipment; they just come themselves, and we get to take away. A project that we, that they would have to assemble, and then there's going to be exams and tests.
So if I come to the camp and I build, let's call it the nationwide 3,000 ace reporter robot to take Siobhan's job,
yes,
I get to keep the robot.
Yes. And you get to keep Siobhan too.
well, I don't know, Bugs. If it would be like a nationwide ace reporter, we don't even keep Siobhan.
Why wouldn't they need to keep you?
We get send home Siobhan. Well, that's interesting. So they get to keep the robot, the product.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe Satish can elaborate on that some more.
Yeah. Satish?
Yep. So I think, as Carlton was saying, each group of kids are going to do 2 types of discipline, right? So let's take the morning group, for example. If they are going to be there from 9 to 12 p.m., 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., the first 90 minutes, they are going to be doing robotics. And the second 90 minutes, or maybe 85 minutes, they are going to be doing electronics, right? So if you think about robotics is nothing but a bunch of mechanical and electronic components that can be programmed, right? So it is good for the kids to know what is electronics, what is a capacitor, what is a resistor, and so on. It may be Greek and Latin right now, but once they start using it, they will know the names. And we are going to give each kid that signs up a kit that has all these electronic components that they can take home with them.
Oh.
So they can do a project like a traffic light, or they could be LED-based circuit that they design. Whatever they design, at the end of the day, they have the material as well as the box full of electronic components that they take home with them and show their parents or maybe their sibling or their cousins.
Yeah.
Get everyone.
And therefore, that means whatever they learn at Camp Siobhan, they could take home with them in terms of the equipment.
Exactly.
And utilize it for further learning.
Precisely. And that's where I want to go. That's why I want to bring in Jayendra. When you do this, because I think you alluded to it earlier, you don't want this to just be a one-off. You want this to be something sustainable that you can repeat year on year, that will not only enrich in terms of business opportunity, but also education and opportunities for Jamaicans. So explain how you plan to maintain this. Jayendra?
I think that's a great question. We have over 25 different programs. And within each program, we have multiple levels. So as our curriculum is developed based on our understanding of what a kid knows based on a certain age group. And, so we have a lot of content. Now, kids will take 6 months to, 8 months to learn through a particular program. And at the end of the program, we have an opportunity for kids to take part in competitions. Right? We want to have a lot of local competitions where it could be at a school level. We can roll that up into a regional level. And then the kids from there can have opportunity to, come to the US or to Canada to participate in an international event as well.
This is brilliant.
Right. So the idea is we have 25 different programs based on age group, and in between each of those programs, kids have the opportunity to go in and out of competitions.
Yeah. That'd be amazing.
That's how we plan to, hopefully keep their interest and keep their learning going as well.
That's amazing. News commentator J.A. says, I love this and hope non-traditional high schools will get the opportunity to join soon. You say $60,000, roughly about $400 US, and they get to take home the thing, they get to keep their tools, and that learning continues. Plus, they get opportunities to compete in
the
further development.
Schools, all the resources that we bring down is going to be handed over to the schools. So the schools are going to keep that.
Oh, so it will stay here in the island.
Yes.
So we could have like robotics clubs.
Yeah, your school can set up their own. The school will be able to do their own thing, and we with our, consultation and with Zebra consultation, I should say, that they can move forward. We're going to be training instructors. So each school we're going to try and train at least 2 or 3 instructors.
So the knowledge stays.
So what we're doing first is to train the instructors. And then we're going to make those instructors, the school is committed to take those instructors, to use those instructors for the class. So the instructors are going to get a certified STEM certificate on what they get. And then they're going to be able to deal with the student when the summer camp comes with Zebra.
Yeah. Amazing. So Dana, you might want to stop giving me such a hard time, because before you know it, I might be a producer. It's 7:30. We're on the next break. We're hearing exciting things about Zed Jamaica. They're celebrating 21 years of operations, and a robotics camp is coming up. And based on my script, Siobhan, it seems that we're going to be talking next to some of the schools. Yeah, who are involved. So thank you so much to Satish, Jayendra, Rashid, and of course Carlton Grant is still with us. We take the break and come back with more.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. Stay ahead of the curve with our cutting-edge reporting and accurate breaking news coverage.
We're having an earthquake. Oh, God.
Hear it here first on Nationwide 90 FM.
Is that really Cliff you started?
Tune in, turn up the volume, and listen. We bring a mix of news, entertainment, and sports to your lives.
Nationwide 90 FM's live and continuous coverage of the World Championships in Budapest, Hungary.
News and discussions week mornings.
Coming up in the news at 6 for this morning.
Entertainment in the afternoons, then news again in the evenings.
Nationwide news at this hour, fired.
Also, tune into the entertainment and sports shows in the nights and on the weekends.
It is Boy Things After Dark right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
Everything is news, from current affairs and entertainment to sports, business, and other categories.
Nationwide 90 FM. This is Beanie Man. Give it to them. Zaga, Zen.
From every whisper to every commotion.
That's rubbish. The KSAMC cannot investigate itself.
Was Click News really talking like that?
Every news story unfolds here first at Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. Every sound is a story, and every story we share is news.
I stay locked to the Olympics because, of course, I'm Jamaican. What you mean? Me, I have to tune into the Olympics, man. Because I'm always busy, but what? I have to know when Sherika Jackson beat Shakari.
Brother, I have every notification for the Olympics. I want to hear every run.
Now Sherika Jackson coming
every jump.
Oh, that is absolutely huge of Wayne Pinkham.
Every fling, live.
So, takers then.
Nothing can miss me.
We're always on the move.
So while we're driving, run, Ghislaine, run.
Jogging. Yes. Run, Watson. Win again.
Watson is now a world champion.
Or even at work.
Quick, the race has started.
We can't miss a beat because we keep it locked
to the only station
for the Paris Olympics.
Nationwide.
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 90 FM.
Nationwide 90.1, 90.3, 90.5, 90.7 and 90.9, and on YouTube at Nationwide 90 FM Live. Nationwide, the new revolution in media.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Alan Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. We're on the final lap. We're celebrating Zed Jamaica. They're celebrating 21 years of operations in Jamaica. And they have coming up, well, you've heard a lot from them since 6. We're on the segment where we're dealing with robotics. They have an exciting robotics camp coming up. Yeah. And we want to let you know that if you have questions, you can call us 630-937-124, 618-8255, and the panel will answer the questions. You can also post the questions on YouTube, and we'll be sure to get you an answer.
Well, we're going to be discussing now with some of the schools that will be involved in the robotics camp. We have with us the Renweb Administrator for Jamaica College, Dawn McGregor Bromfield, along with the Vice Principal for St. Hilda's Diocesan High, Vanessa Thompson Walters, and Principal for St. Hilda's Diocesan High, Heather Reed Johnson. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. And just to tell our listeners, we're still trying to make contact with Jamaica College. Apparently, we lost them. We dropped them, right? So we're trying to reconnect with Jamaica College.
So, just to be sure, we have Heather Reed and Thompson Walters. You're both there?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
So, starting with you, Madam Reed Johnson, your interest in robotics and this summer camp, can you explain to us?
Well, I have to say, the moment Mr. Grant mentioned that this was, in the making, we were all excited about it at St. Hilda's. We have a robotics club. We've entered a number of competitions. So our girls are more than interested in robotics. And our vice principal, Mrs. Walters, she's the one who is in charge. She's their coach and so on. So we could not pass up on this opportunity. So we said to Mr. Grant immediately, we are on board.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking forward to an exciting month of July in which we will learn all kinds of new things.
Yeah.
After all, it's a bit of STEM or STEAM. So we have to be on board.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yes.
And Mrs. Thompson Walters, forgive me for this question, but immediately when you think robotics, you do not think girls. Yeah, I see the principal's reaction, but I did ask her for forgiveness, Mrs. Reed Johnson. But immediately you don't think girls, you think boys would want to be involved in robotics. When I heard you say, Principal, that you have a club and that you have been participating in programs, I'm impressed by that. Talk to us, Mrs. Thompson Walters, about the reaction of the girls to robotics.
Good evening again, everyone. I am so surprised that you would say
I
that.
beg forgiveness. I begged forgiveness.
Because at St. Hilda's Diocesan High School, our girls, we were introduced to an in-depth knowledge of robotics in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Our girls, a number of our girls, have shown an interest in the field of robotics. And what we have done, having established a robotics club, we've sought many opportunities to share with the girls the possibilities that lie in terms of robotics and the area of STEM.
Yeah.
And so what we find is that through the clubs, we have meetings each week. And of course, our clubs participating in different competitions.
Mm-hmm.
It continues to build an interest for a number of other girls as the years passes.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have our young ladies quite interested in the field of robotics.
And you coach them. What's that experience like? What does coaching robotics involve?
All right. Well, it has been a tremendous experience for me, having led the team, and I have two other members of staff that works along with me.
Mm-hmm.
And the experience, as I said before, has been one that has been a wonderful one for many reasons. One, the girls have a desire to learn new things, and they are eager. And for me to provide that kind of guidance and oversight, as soon as we spot the opportunities or the principal spot the opportunities and she shares them with me, we go back to our club and we see how best we can explore them. And in terms of my role as a coach, we look out for the opportunities. We provide training for the girls. So we have gone to UTech, engage lecturers there to get training for the students, and just sought opportunities to build on their knowledge of robotics and to show them that there are many opportunities that lie in this field. And so having completed high school, moving on to tertiary, this is a field that you can explore. So it's a supportive role that I play as a coach, and my girls inspire me.
Yeah.
My young ladies, they are driven, they are dedicated. And so that is something that keeps me going with them as a coach.
And I love this idea of just telling our students that their potential is limitless and boundless. Mrs. Reed Johnson, you said something about, the importance of STEM education. And I wondered whether you find that the girls who are involved in robotics show more aptitude in math and science and are gravitating towards those disciplines.
Well, in fact, they do. And I will tell you, our girls at St. Hilda's are well-rounded.
Yeah, I've always heard that.
Yes, we have a broad-based curriculum. We do not restrict them and so on. I mean, they can do anything they want. Earlier you mentioned having girls doing robotics. Our girls, I'll tell you, they perform very well in the sciences, exceptionally well. And that is, at the CSEC level, at the CAPE level. So it doesn't matter that they are girls. Anything they can master and accomplish.
Excellent.
Okay, so for them, robotics, they gravitate towards the sciences, as I said, and they are very good in the math. Of course, there are some girls who are afraid of math,
right.
But we have excellent head of math department, and she comes up with all kinds of innovative ways for them to do well. We enter the Math Olympiad, we enter the Math Kangaroo competition. Even today, they were in Kingston at that competition. So our girls, we help them to overcome that fear of math. Because it's the time in which we are living. Science, technology, that's the time for it.
Yeah.
So Principal Reed Johnson, you've planted the seed regarding robotics. So certainly summer camp, it presents quite an opportunity for you to expand beyond just having a club. Is there an interest in, say, including robotics as part of the curriculum at St. Hilda's?
Well, I'm sure that is something that we have to look at. I wouldn't have any objections to that at all, and I know our girls would be excited about it. We have, earlier you asked too about what the girls gravitate towards.
Yes.
We have the girls who are in robotics who are interested in logistics, animation and gaming, you name it. And they're doing quite well in those fields. So robotics, look out, it will be in the curriculum soon.
And I love now that Jamaican educational institutions are offering these broad options to students. When I was in high school, the options were a bit constrained, were a bit limited.
Let's say streamlined.
Streamlined, yes, let's use that word, streamlined. We were generally, principal, directed in specific areas. It sounds now like the educational institutions are just broadening the horizons of these students, and I absolutely love that.
Yes, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's what, as I said before, our curriculum is broad-based. Our girls, they have a bit of the science, the arts, and of course, I'll have to put a plug in, Spanish is compulsory at St. Hilda's. The second language is a must.
Oh, all students have
one more language, one more chance.
One more language, one more. I love that. In terms now of the age of the girls, Mrs. Thompson Walters, are you finding that it's from grade 7 straight through to 6th form, or are you finding a concentration at a particular level?
Muted.
Mrs. Thompson Walters?
I'm hearing you now.
Right. So, did you hear the question? No, not hearing Mrs. Walters.
Well, until
yes,
she
miss.
comes back, I just add.
Sure, miss.
Each year we have a science and technology fair, and the girls create all kinds of wonderful things. And I will tell you, last year, a first former created a robot. And this was a robot, she said, to replace or to assist in the teacher shortage.
Oh.
A first former. It was awesome. So from first form right up, the girls are interested.
And this technology fair it's into school. It's in school. It's within St. Hilda's.
Within school. So the different departments. Well, science. It's really the science.
Right.
And they put together all kinds of inventions and creations. So the little first former created her teacher, the robot, to teach in the absence of her teachers.
Amazing.
Because the teacher shortage and all of that.
Look at that. You could get your producer robot, actually.
Amazing. So I may yet have my producer robot.
So we have an interesting question from YouTube. Patrick Rowe asks, will the students be chosen on aptitude and interest, or is it up to the teachers to make the selection? Principal Reed Johnson?
Well, I think it's the interest that the students display. We will choose based on those who are interested.
Yeah.
Those who really have that deep interest, that deep-seated interest, not just to choose, we'll allow them to decide.
Yeah.
I think.
And another YouTuber, Principal Rose Chin, is praising your initiative to have Spanish being compulsory. She says, I wish I had paid more attention to Spanish in high school. It would serve me well now.
Okay, thanks for that.
All right, so do we have Mrs. Thompson Walters back with us?
Yes, I'm back. My apologies.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so we talked about the how satisfying it is when you coach the girls and you expose them to this broad array of technology and innovation. In terms of your participation now in the camp, what will that look like?
All right. So as teachers, educators, there's opportunity for training, and I'm quite excited about that. So you asked earlier in the interview with Mr. Grant about, continuity and maintaining the program even after.
Yes.
And so I am excited to know that I will receive some training as a part of this camp. And also I'm going to be there every step of the way with the young ladies to ensure that they are there for all of the sessions, to ensure that they do well in their assessments, and to ensure at the end of the day, they build those robots that will be solving problems, and they will have a great time learning additional information about robotics.
What inspired you? What inspired your love of this field, such that you want to coach in robotics?
I am a trained information technology teacher. So from high school, I've had a love for the technology. And so when the principal was the one that brought the concept of robotics, and we were introduced to it through the First Tech Challenge in 2020. And the minute she shared it with me, I was ready to go. And, having been involved in it and seeing where robotics is going universally, it is something that has really caught my interest, and I just want to learn more. And earlier, I believe it was Mr. Grant or one of the other presenters mentioned that the students are seeing the use of the artificial intelligence, when they go to the airports, when they go into different business places.
Yes.
And so for me, it is a means of learning as an educator. We are lifelong learners. And so I want to just build on my knowledge because it's not going anywhere. More and more, we're going to see the use of robotics even here in Jamaica on a wider scale.
So, Madam Thompson Walters, not only will you get to retain that training that they'll be providing you, we are led to understand you'll also get to retain the equipment that will be brought to your institution. What do you make of that?
Oh, that is wonderful. It is wonderful because as a school, we are always looking for opportunities to build our robotics club. And so additional equipment, we welcome that any day. And the fact that we're going to get the opportunity to keep it, it is going to be additional resources for our team, for our club. And so we're very thankful for that.
And Mrs. Reed Johnson, in terms of partnerships with other schools, because we want to ensure that, but certainly I would want to see all schools in Jamaica being a part of this program. Is St. Hilda's in a position to extend itself to assist perhaps some of your non-traditional counterparts who may, want to be a part of it, but who may not have it at their institution?
Most definitely, because I believe it's important to share. We can't be very selfish, or we can't be selfish. Let me remove very. We can't be selfish at all. So it's important to share with others. And I will tell you, even for the Robotics Club, through Mrs. Walters and her girls, they have reached out to other schools to help to start a robotics club in their schools. So we are in the business of sharing knowledge and sharing whatever we have.
Love that.
And Madam Reed Johnson, I want to go back now to your ongoing engagement with Zed Jamaica. Certainly didn't just spring from nowhere. What caused that engagement with Zed Jamaica, and how has it been over the years?
Okay, well, our relationship, and I'm calling it that, with Zed Jamaica started, how long now? Many years ago.
Wow.
You know? Is it, Mrs. Walters, if you can remind me? I
believe it was
2014.
2015.
2015. Wow.
Right.
So you use this the school management system that we were discussing earlier?
Yes, we do.
Oh.
Yes, we do. And it's awesome. It just makes life so much easier for us, for teachers, for the parents, for the girls. And we have real-time information through the school management system. Real-time information for the parents. We no longer have to be printing reports to send out to parents. They can go on the portal, access those reports, see what is happening, see how their daughters are progressing, and so on. Of course, if a parent needs a report, we will print and stamp, for official purposes.
Right.
But they can always go on the system and see what is happening. And the system has so many features that we are using. And again, Mrs. Walters is one of those who is close to, using that system, as well as our systems administrator. But the relationship with Zed has been excellent.
Yes.
And I can tell you, if we have a challenge, as we did a few weeks ago, just tweaking something on the transcript,
yes,
Mr. Harris was there, and he's always there. Mrs. Walters will call, and he's always there to just help us through whatever it is, and to make the necessary adjustments, to whatever document it is that we need to have.
And we did hear that you are responsive indeed. That's part of why you're being awarded with that WAVE award. So also, I wanted to know, Mrs. Reed Johnson, and I want you to speak to your colleagues, because we know that there are some school administrators who may be slow on the uptake of something like this. They may be saying, boy, I have my file cabinet, I have my files properly stored and sorted. Mrs. laughing. Properly stored and sorted. I don't need this kind of technology. Talk to us, or talk to them about the benefits as you see them, having used it now for so many years.
Right. Well, I'm of the view that many of my colleagues have some school management system or other, because I think we all recognize that the paper isn't good enough.
Yes.
If a transcript is needed, we have to go to the filing room, especially in our case, for students who attended St. Hilda's before 2015, and they are not on the school management system. We have to get to that filing room, pull that file, and go through and manually create that script. While now with Zed, it's quite easy, because we go on and at a click of a button, Vanessa, the transcript is generated. So much easier. So much easier. So I believe the benefits are there, and it saves on a lot of the paper and so on. So we can save some money there, and maybe channel the funds into some other area in the school. But I think it's the way to go. Technology is the way to go. I know some of us may be afraid of it, but it's just the time in which we're living, and we need to move with the times.
Yeah,
I
couldn't have said it any better. Just the time we're living in.
And Principal Reed Johnson, it takes a certain mindset and a certain enabling environment to be, let's use the word pioneering.
We're calling you a visionary.
Let's use the term visionary, pioneering. Have you found that you've had any difficulty, say, bringing your initiatives to the board of the school, the regional headquarters, and the Ministry of Education in terms of bringing things like robotics, a new school information system? How do you navigate those hurdles to ensure that your girls at St. Hilda's get what they need?
Well, I have to be honest with you. I do not have those hurdles. I do not have those hurdles. My board is very supportive. My chairman, Bishop Leon Golding, and the rest of the team, they are very supportive. And they understand that we need to move with the times, and we have to be more efficient in what we do. And if the technology is going to allow for more efficiency, then that's the way to go.
Yeah.
For the region, I don't want to cause any trouble, but there was the region, but maybe it's the education system that perhaps we need to look at. There's something we need to look at. St. Hilda's had a system in which our staff members would sign in using the fingerprint and so on. And we were told to get rid of that. We had to go back to signing of the books and all. I wasn't happy about that.
Oh,
but
those were data. Was that data privacy concerns?
No, it is that according to something written somewhere, we should be writing recording our presence at school in a book somewhere.
Outdated regulations.
Goody.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just, it's a system. So we reverted. I really wasn't happy about that. Yeah. I just like the bit of just sticking my finger in that little slot and moving it.
So Mr. Grant,
understood.
Generally speaking, the stakeholders have been very supportive.
Yeah.
So Mr. Grant, it seems that you still have some work cut out for you in terms of getting the onboarding.
Oh, let me tell you, 2016, we decided to give 16 primary school RenWeb free of charge as an experimental. And so we went in and we convert their data, set up their system. And while we were doing that, we're teaching them how to use electronic gradebook and electronic attendance. And while we were doing that, the ministry was pulling up with a truck with books for attendance that you have to sign for attendance. So we that just defeated the purpose, and the whole thing exploded. Never come to fruition. And so I can understand that there's challenge, and that persists for years. That when we talk to a school, we can't do electronic because the ministry said we have to sign a book and we have to do this and we have to do that. So it's still a challenge, and that mentality comes with a lot of the I would say maybe the older folks. And when I say the older folks, disrespect because I'm old. Right? I'm just
more the mindset than the actual physical age.
Mindset than anything else. So it's something that we it's hurdles and then cost comes into effect, because once you tell them it's $1, I think there's a disconnect between cost benefit and how they perceive it. So if you digitize your record and you digitize the school, everybody's going to be benefit from it because the efficiency will increase. Once you increase the efficiency, the production is increased.
We're up on time. I almost hate to cut you, but we're up on time. Yeah. But what I want you to quickly do is to give listeners who may be interested in the product, how do they contact Zed Jamaica?
They can contact me at 880-3301, or they can go on zedjamaica.com and /robotics, and they can register. Everything is online. Registration online, payments is online, the whole shebang is online.
All right. Zed Jamaica celebrating 21 years of operations in Jamaica. And you heard it, listeners, a high-powered interactive creative agency. You've heard the testimonials. You've heard from people who have worked with them. They are the real deal, yeah? And I'm excited to see what you're able to achieve, especially coming out of the robotics program, yeah?
We'll keep you in tune.
All right. That's been Nationwide at 5. Thank you so much to our producer. I might get a producer 2.0. Dana Davey. Bugs, the man behind the control, the news and production team. The team at Zed Jamaica for joining us. Thank you all so much. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Good evening.